What is up, guys? Welcome to the Transparency. We're going to get started. Here's your intro.
How's your night going?
Pretty good.
That's good.
Just trying to stay warm.
Is that y'all's car right there?
Yeah.
Undercover.
Well, just trying to save gas. They downgraded us from patrol cars.
Gotcha.
They gave us hybrids to save on fuel.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. Once dispatch lets me know that actually exists, I'll catch you later. Sorry.
No worries.
Affirm.
Car matching the Elantra's description can be seen between 2:45 and 3:15 a.m. the morning of the murders. The video was taken from a building on Linda Lane, several streets away from the crime scene on King Road. Video shows the vehicle traveling toward the crime scene. Later, Hall claims a similar vehicle can be seen on body camera video of an unrelated underage drinking bust. Hall pinpoints the car driving by at 2:58 a.m. and uses a digital overlay to place a Hyundai Elantra on top of the vehicle. Law and Crime took it a step further and superimposed the photo of a white car believed to be the Elantra that was caught on security camera by a local gas station that same night. It's important to note the vehicle has not been confirmed to be a Hyundai Elantra, and some believe the car appears to be a white Tesla. Later on, at 3:12 a.m., body camera video picks up what appears to be four people running under a street lamp in the background, and less than a minute later, a high-pitched noise. Some online detectives believe this sound to be a scream, while others say it could be tires screeching. The timestamp on this noise is important to note, as investigators believe the victims were killed between 3 and 4 a.m. on November 13th.
Truth and Transparency believes that multiple undercover cars were driving around the campus on November 12th, late evening into the early morning on November 13th, as stated by the body cam footage. The PCA puts Brian Kohlberger on Washington State's campus at 2:42 a.m., 2:44 a.m., 2:47, and 2:53 a.m. based on both CCTV television and cell tower pings. So the white Elantra that is seen driving in the background of the camera footage from the quote-unquote Banfield body cam and Linda Street can't be the white Elantra that they are putting on Brian, as he wasn't in that area until 3:26 a.m., according to the PCA. This vehicle that looks to be a white Elantra at 2:58 a.m., and then there's Linda Street, and then this screech at 3:12 a.m. Brian Kohlberger's white Elantra that they put him on in the PCA does not arrive until 3:26 a.m. at the 700 block.
In the nights, we asked forensic audio expert Anthony Nelson to enhance the audio for Inside Edition.
It definitely doesn't sound like a human calling out or screaming to me.
Could it be a squeak of a wheel speeding away?
Yes.
It could be.
An expert witness right here is now saying that that is a screech, not a scream, but a screech of tires at 3:12 a.m. from the body cam footage that was enhanced by an expert witness.
By a local gas station that same night. It's important to note the vehicle has not been confirmed to be a Hyundai Elantra, and some believe the car appears to be a white Tesla. Later on, at 3:12 a.m., body camera video picks up what appears to be four people running under a street lamp in the background, and less than a minute later, a high-pitched noise. Some online detectives believe this sound to be a scream, while others say it could be tires screeching. The The timestamp on this noise is important to note as investigators.
I didn't replay that footage to hear what they were saying, but to show you guys the different camera angles. Those are 2 different body cams. And they're both showing a timestamp of 3:12 a.m. So there's multiple undercovers.
Through our tips, through our leads, some of the evidence that came in, we start to identify patterns. And like we said earlier, we are confident that the occupant or occupants of that vehicle have information that's critical to this investigation. We also understand that even though there's sometimes a fascination with a particular case, some people simply don't see the news and may not know that we're looking for it. So if we get the word out there, hey, maybe your neighbor has one in the garage that they don't drive very often. Maybe there's one that's just not on the registration database. Let us know. So far, we have a list of approximately 22,000 registered white Hyundai Elantras that fit into our criteria that we're sorting through. That's an awful lot of information, but it may not be all of them. So the public can help us with that.
22,000 fitting that criteria.
Again, that show was December 16th, 2022. For those of you that have said that the police didn't confirm looking for a white Elantra and evidence that came in, that Court TV production was December 16th, 2022. They had Brian Kohlberger on November 29th, 2022. And that was after they pulled Brian over 2 times in Indiana, as he was pulled over December 15th, 2022. Now I want to know who wants to chat about the undercover hybrid cars out that night that could resemble what a Hyundai Elantra would look like. And let's talk about the PCA when it talks about a few cars entering the King residence area between 3:29 a.m. and 4:20 a.m. According to Officer Payne, he's been doing this for a while and he knows that that's a residential area and only a few cars are seen going back there between that time frame. Well, that's what I want to talk about. A special thanks to Footage Used, Court TV, News Nation, Inside Edition, and the Moscow Police Department. Again, this is Truth and Transparency, Home Team Productions. We'll see you at the next live. Moscow, Idaho, the University of Idaho murders. Executive producer Lana Oriani. Thank you to all of the subscribers and members, and all the love in the world moderators. Maple Beef, Bella, Mod Squad Boston, Bumblebee, VA Scorpio, Mike Droppin, Octavia, and a couple new ones, Hot Ham Radio, New Orleans Lady, Floydy, and JJ. See you soon. What is up, guys? Welcome. Got something special for you guys here tonight. Hope you guys have had an amazing weekend with friends, family. So that's what it's all about. So hopefully you guys have been rocking with your home team.
Video shows the vehicle traveling toward the crime scene. Later.
Okay, perfect. Again, thank you moderators for being here. I know it's not easy all the time. Love you guys. Sorry for the delay. I was over there on my other channel where I laid down the hammer for my own case. But I got some transparency paper. I got some Elantras. We're going to take a look at some stuff. And we're going to talk about this timeline. You know, this past weekend I was chilling, sleeping, and I woke up out of my out of sleeping, and I was like, holy shit. I was like, wait, like, I mean, I know that the West Coast time is different than the East Coast time, everything like that. But a big part of it for me was football. Okay. And it was that Kaylee's dad said that, they were getting ready to watch, football. They were watching football. Well, the 1 o'clock game and the 4 o'clock game, that's East Coast. So at 1 o'clock, everybody in, Moscow would be watching at 10 a.m. 10 a.m. Okay. So at 10 a.m. is when football kicks off for you guys on the West Coast. And I'm watching it at 1. And then same thing like our 4 o'clock game, so on and so forth. So when you actually think about it and you think about what happened that morning when they say that we're watching football, I'm thinking 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, because that's me. I was like, oh, hot damn, no, it is not for them. They're starting to watch football at 10 a.m. So, so when we're talking about the Gonsalveses, we're starting to receive phone calls, and everything took so long for the police to start getting, to them and being able to talk to them and knowing anything. If you're getting a phone call at 10 a.m., the police haven't gotten theirs until noon. So the Gonsalveses could have gotten 2 hours before law enforcement got the phone call. Now, I'm not saying that that's the case, but I'm saying you need to think about how this actually, when we're talking about Dave, okay? Dave saying, yeah, we all knew about it. It was way earlier in the morning. Okay. Kim, same thing. It was earlier in the morning, and then the time frame that they're talking about, the niece of Kaylee, or Kaylee's cousin, calls, and they were watching football like other families do. And he's saying, well, like most families. So the time that the Gonsalveses could have gotten that phone call is actually when all of those kids knew about it. They knew about it before 911 was called. So we've always thought, and I've always thought, that they've known things that other people don't. But other things like, why would the Gonsalveses think, wait, they're just so quick to like write off people and their alibis and stuff like that? It's because you know something, okay? And it's like, wait a second. I believe that they knew, that the school knew before the police, and not just by a couple minutes, but by a couple hours. So all this time is actually all equaling the same thing. Kim's saying the same thing. Dave said the same thing. And if you actually listen to what the Gonsalveses talk about in the football, to me, when I first got that, I was like, yeah, you would be watching football at 1 o'clock. That's when I would, that's 1 o'clock game, 4 o'clock game. But you hear it, wait a second, they start watching football on the West Coast at 10 a.m. And that's when all of this stuff started going on about people knowing before the police knew. So then when the Gonsalveses are saying, we didn't hear from the police for hours. Well, yeah, it would feel like a lot more hours because you have a 2-hour start on them. The police weren't even notified until noon. Okay. So now they would have to go check their phone bills to see what time people were calling them. Now there's talks about somebody calling and Jack D being called at like 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning and not answering. And at first I was like, wait, what? That's really early, Well, is because I always thought the Gonzalez's were getting phone calls at like 1 when my football time would have started, is at 1, but that's not their football time. Their football time is 10 a.m. That's when football starts. So this is, in my opinion, huge. And then when you mix it with, we showed it, was it yesterday, the day before? I'm going to read it to you guys. Something that the chief said, we would have liked to have gotten that call earlier. Wait, what? That's not a normal statement. That's not, we would have liked to have gotten that call earlier. If the roommates didn't know, they can't call earlier. So you're basically saying that they knew, people knew when they didn't call. Again, let me read this, and I'm going to play it again too. Which one do I want to read? Okay, right here. Okay, quote, we would have liked for the call to have come in sooner. And again, I wrote this is like part of the description. This is such an odd statement to me because I believe you only say this if you know that a call could have been made sooner, meaning that the chief could only be in a situation to say that you're not going to say that unless you believed that call could have actually come in sooner. That would have mean that you know that people knew and did not call the police. Yeah, would we have liked to have that call sooner? Yeah. And again, in my opinion, is meaning that he knows that the roommates and whomever else would have been there didn't call the police right away after finding the bodies. Now, what is really interesting is that I always thought and just assumed that he meant in the morning. Okay. But the chief is specific, and I believe he does say that, we would have loved for that call to have come in the middle of the night. We would have loved for that call to come in the middle of the night. All right. And now this is very important. We would have loved for that call to have come in the middle of the night. Early morning hours. And again, this kind of just blows my mind because you can't call 911 in the middle of the night unless you have a reason to call 911 in the middle of the night. Yeah, like during the middle of the night, like when this would have happened, we would have loved to have this call happen. We would have loved to have this call earlier in the early morning hours. Okay. Why? Would it have saved somebody's life? Would this call, if it came in, would it have saved somebody's life? Because that's what I would be thinking. Like, well, because we could save people. All right. Or does it have to do with, well, this would have really helped with us being able to say that it's Brian Kohlberger, because we're talking about if we get a phone call, then we know that the crime had already happened. You're not calling 911 until you see a scene. You don't call 911 before. Okay. You have to, actually see something to then call 911. All right. You just don't call 911. There's a reason that you call 911. So again, this blew my mind because you can't call 911 until you see the scene, making it possible to even then, like I said, call 911 for anyone like, the police chief to think that a call could even have come in during the middle of the night. It tells me that this means that he has knowledge, in my opinion, that whatever time he wanted people to be able to call in, you would have personal knowledge that they knew and didn't call in. Well, so let me explain this. If I hear, oh my gosh, so-and-so got shot, if I hear this from somebody, I'm not thinking to myself, oh my God, did you call 911? Did you guys call 911? I'm already thinking that 911 has been called. So if I get a text message that says 4 people, whatever the situation may have been, I'm thinking that the police would be already, I'm not asking, well, did you guys call 911? I'm thinking that 911, that wouldn't even be a question in my mind. Okay. I wouldn't be saying to people in this, if you told me that, I'm not saying, well, did you call 911? Why would I be asking if you called 911 if you're telling me that you think people are dead? Like that. So all these kids are thinking they're just getting the news. They're meaning from their friends, and they're all talking. They think that 911 has already been called. Why wouldn't you think that? Why would I tell you, well, did you call 911? What do you mean you think people are dead? Or if you're saying something like, oh my God, there was blood all over the place, like, They say chat's flying. Let's see. Gotta help out the mods here for a second. Oopsies. There you go. That slowed down. Okay. So again, these are the points I want to hit on, and then we're going to take it on into chat, and then I'm going to show you guys a couple of things on the projector. Okay. So when people are getting this, the first thing that they're not thinking of is they're already thinking that 911 is called. Then everybody's been saying, well, why wouldn't you go there? Wouldn't you go to the scene? No, they put a vandal alert out at 1:00 telling people to shelter in place and said why, but they only said 1 homicide. They didn't really say that it was 4. And they also didn't say that that there's a kill. It was very just shelter in place, even though, hey, this person just came into somebody's home and did all this. But shelter into place, whatever. Then they have no idea who did this. No description, no nothing. But that vandal alert goes out. So people would have got that at 1:00, which would technically be 3, possibly 4 hours later. But now I would love to know what time the Gonsalveses called the police. Because when this happened, they get the phone call, then she's calling Kaylee. It's going straight to voicemail. She's calling Maddie, but it's not going straight to voicemail. It's ringing. Jack, all these people are being called and no one's picking up, And she's like, no, if something happened to Kaylee, Maddie would have called me. Okay. So the Gonsalveses say that they do call the police. I'm curious on that time, Also, and they said that they couldn't give them any information. And I know everybody has said, well, why didn't they get in the car and drive to Moscow, Idaho? I don't know. I don't know that answer. I don't know. No idea. I don't know what time any of these calls happened. I just know that you hear Steve say that this took hours for us to be notified. Hours. Well, I'm like, oh, ding, 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 ding. You can't blame the police for 3 probably of those hours because the police didn't even know. I believe that the Gonsalveses were notified before the police. There's a chance that could have happened. They would know that. They would know that. Which if you think about the way that Mr. Gonsalves would have been treating the stuff in the beginning, like, don't make me be the alpha. He knew something. I've always said that he's known something. And I always felt it was about the phones. He knows what time he got his phone call. Okay. Then he hears what time the 911 call came out. And he's like, wait, how am I getting a phone call before the police? I'm saying if that is the case, I don't know. I don't have their phone records. But if everything is going on this path of which I believe to be the case, which is everybody was notified before the police were pretty much called, this then would lead to, wait, why are these people being cleared so quickly? They didn't even call 911. None of these people called 911 and they're being cleared. I would have a problem with that. I would have lots of questions with that. Wait a second. Why did they sit around and they didn't call 911? What's going on here? And then you also don't know when this happened at the time. Like, as far as the Gonsalveses, and they're saying, okay, all of a sudden, okay, it was between 3 and 4 a.m. Then they're hearing 3 and 4 a.m. Then they're finding out, okay, well, the police weren't called until noon. We knew earlier than that. How is that possible? Well, what did they do? What's going on? And so all of this now is making sense because of, in my opinion, Mr. Gonsalves talking about the football, that they were watching football. Well, football starts at 10. Everybody else was getting notified at, 9, 10 o'clock in terms of the people that I've talked to. And it was, I think that would make sense to me, that they were notified before the police. We'll find out. I don't know. Again, am I saying that this is I don't have their phone records. But by Fry saying, would we have liked to have gotten a call before? I think that could be multiple things. And one of those things being like, yeah, we were the last to know. So I don't believe that the chief makes that statement without him having personal knowledge that call could have even happened. What I mean by that is you can't call 911 until you know of an issue. So would we have liked for that phone call to come in earlier? Yes, but they didn't know. Like, so the follow-up to that would be, but they didn't know, nobody knew that anybody was harmed yet. That's not what it said. It just says, would we have liked to have gotten that phone call earlier? Yes. Why are you even mentioning that? Well, because you believe that I believe that you have personal knowledge to know that that could have happened, and it didn't. That's why you're saying it. So yes, I do believe that law enforcement knows all about the timeline of how long Julie had passed before 911 was called. This is also why it took Kaylee's parents so long to find out from the police that day, what felt like so long, because they had known about it so much earlier. Again, because the police were behind, in my opinion, the initial call by a couple hours. Again, this would also just make sense as to why Mr. Gonsalves said that it took like forever for them to, get a sheriff over that to their house. That when they called, they couldn't provide them with anything. For me, if I was a chief, the only thing that I would care about and say that would make sense in that situation is if we would have gotten a call sooner, you would think that something could have happened because of that. So for me to hear that statement, I would only make that statement if I felt that something could have happened. Like, why are they saying that they wish they would have gotten that call sooner? could people's lives have been saved? Were people alive? Like, but he makes that statement too, in my opinion, too soon, like way too early on. It's like that. I don't even think he would have talked to a medical examiner. I believe he's saying that because of the case, because of now we have this window, okay, of if we would have gotten a phone call right after this would have happened, we're shrinking down then this window of when this would have happened. Would we have liked to have gotten a call earlier? Yes. Well, why? To save somebody's life? Why would you have liked to have gotten a call earlier? How could you have gotten a call earlier? So are you admitting that people didn't call you? Because there's no way you make that statement if the girls were sleeping and then they just woke up and got out of their beds and found the bodies, then they would have called, even if it would just been a couple minutes. Would we have liked to have gotten that call earlier? Yes. Well, how much earlier do you think that you could have gotten that call? Like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 2 hours, 3 hours? In that interview with parents and sister, her mom clearly states that she tried to call Maddie and Jack D once she heard Maddie and Jack D didn't answer the phone. Why wouldn't Jack D have called her parents immediately? I think it was early. I think that it was early. That's the whole thing that I'm trying to talk about right now is when we all hear that they were watching football when they got this phone call. The East Coast people, Central Time people, you're immediately going to think of 1 o'clock or later. But no, on the West Coast, which is their time zone, 1 o'clock my time is 10 a.m. their time. So they're getting phone. I believe that the family and other people were getting phone calls way earlier. And it wasn't just the group of people, like the school people, if that helps answer. So, again, the phone records will prove all this. I'm only going based off of logic. And if you think about it, and I was like, holy shit. I was like, you got Dave and them talking about this time zone, like this time frame. You got Kim talking about the same time, and you actually have the Gonzalez's talking about the same time. If you potentially, because football starts at 10 a.m. on the West Coast, not at 1, not at, like it is on the East Coast. So hopefully that answered that, Latina. Thank you for the new membership there. I meant to grab that. I was trying to look for it. Hold on. Where was it? There it is. Boom. Also, Steve's an IT guy. He makes it known that he's an IT guy. I've always thought this. I've said it. They knew stuff. They knew stuff, and they're like, don't make me be the alpha. Don't like, hey, why aren't you guys doing certain things? We know things. Why aren't we talking about the fact that you guys weren't called for several hours? Like that just, they go hand in hand. Again, maybe they'll come out and say like, no, we didn't get a phone call until, after the police were. But I have a hard time believing that. Now with everything that we know and that I've heard, Kaylee's cousin knew, and called. So then we're gonna go into this part of it. The police chief says he wished that he would have had that call sooner. The only way that you're gonna make that comment is if that could have really happened, because you would say, yeah, we would have liked to have that call sooner, but when you go to bed at 4 a.m. and you wake up at 11:30 and then you get out of bed and whatever, but that's not how it was said. How it was said is that it was that we could have gotten that call. That's why we would have liked to have gotten it sooner, because it was possible. And I would think that why can you save a life? Or is this what I think it is, which is no, that would have really corroborated Dylan's story, aka taking your time frame and been able to, if you get that phone call at 4:00 in the morning, if you get that phone call at 5 in the morning, if you get that phone call at 4:30 in the morning, even if you get that phone call at, let's say 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8, 9 a.m., then what stuff couldn't have gotten tampered with potentially? Because if it comes out that this crime scene was completely tampered with, and just in terms of like, hey, because these people came over and then they didn't call the cops for however long, that's going to hurt the prosecution's case. And I think that that's what the chief is referring to, was that would we have liked to have gotten that call earlier? Yes, because now we have this whole window now from when everybody was home in that house, and then if phones are putting people in that house, to now the time of the 911 call happened, which is basically noon, 11:58. And think about it. Why were Kaylee's parents so like, how are you just ruling these people out? How are you ruling all these people out so quickly? Why do you think that they would have said that? It's because of what they knew. It's because they knew that, wait a second, we got a phone call at 10 a.m., 11 a.m. How are the cops not getting called until 11:58? What are these people doing? What's going on here? And now that makes all the sense in the world to me as to why they were like, what the hell is going on? And you can't put two and two together like that until you actually sit and say, oh shit, football starts, because I was thinking when I heard that, I immediately went to, okay, well, yeah, he didn't get his phone call until after the police because he's talking about football. Nope, not so fast. Football on the West Coast starts at 10 a.m. Boom. He's getting his phone call just when everybody else was, in terms of Dave, Kim's, and all those people of the world's. And so let's go back to these phone records. Now, somebody from the inner circle would have had to get this chain rolling for these messages to roll out like that. That means it would have had to come from either a roommate or somebody that would have been there to get that rumor to start flying around. And we all know how easy it is to pass that around. Like, I text somebody, the next thing you know, it just, in a matter of 5 minutes, literally so many people could know about it. But all those people that would have gotten text messages about it, you guys, you have to think about it. I would never think that if you're telling me this, I'm thinking that you are finding this out and that the police would have already been called. So therefore, when you're talking about, well, why didn't any of these other people call 911? Because that would be logic to me. Like, all you people knew about this and none of you then called 911? It's like, no. Because logically, I would never think, if you told me that, I would think that 911 would have already been called. If you're telling people are dead and there's blood everywhere, why would I think that you didn't call 911 for multiple hours? I would never think that. Never in a million thousand years. And now think about every single press conference. What do you think they were? Every single press conference, they never wanted to talk about the 911 call. They never wanted to talk about, they wanted to move away from that every chance they could get. Every chance they could get. And it would be because of what? People start putting the dots together on, wait a second. Wait, when were the cops called? Wait, we knew about it. Like, I think it's crazy that these kids wouldn't have been watching every single press conference. When 9/11 hit, I was a sophomore in college when 9/11 happened. Okay. I was glued to my television as a sophomore in college. In the morning, I get a phone call from my mom, and she's like, "Where are you? Oh my God. Okay. Like, where are you? What's going on?" Like, and she's like, "We're under attack. What do you like? Do you not know?" I was like, "No, I just woke up." Like, what do you mean? We're under attack. She's like, "Turn on your TV right now." And it was 9/11. Okay. And it was the first tower had gotten hit. And she's calling me immediately, asking me where I'm at, telling me about this. And so I turned on the TV, and literally me and my roommates were like just in, obviously in shock, but boom, then the next tower got hit. But I was a sophomore in college, glued to my television. So this happens on your campus. And I'm thinking, when I was talking to Dave, and we weren't really paying attention to, what do you mean you weren't really paying attention? Like, 4 people were just slaughtered. And nobody's like wanting to know what the hell's going on in your campus. Like, well, no, I mean, they told us that it was isolated targeted attack, and thank you there. Thank you, Crystal. Appreciate that. Love that you love the channel. But now let's think about it. They waited how long? 9/11, boom, their coverage on it right away. Moscow does not do a presser to get in front of and talk to anybody, whether it be media, whether it be the students. Nothing. Do you understand this? Nothing. It happened on the 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th. It's a lot of days to go and not have when you actually now sit back and think about if nobody on the news came out and talked about 9/11. Like, what the hell's going on? How was news after the vandal alert traveled around? What did Scott Green do? Because I get that there wasn't a police media presser to the television, to TV, but what did Scott Green do? What was going on? There's no talk about that. But so this whole 911 call, guys, it is so out of mind once the November 16th comes for the students. Hell, how many people left? But I can tell you this, as a sophomore in college, I was glued to my television with 9/11. It was a very serious thing. And I'm sorry, I would think that this same situation would be on the same type of level. Okay, you're under attack. There's somebody that just like Olivia was saying, there's somebody that just killed 4 people while they were in their house in the middle of the night, allegedly sleeping. So did they not do this TV presser, right away to hush the 911 call time? I don't know. But what did the university do? I don't know what the university was doing. I would love to know from the students out there. Now, I'm going to turn it over to you guys here after this. Now, picture that you are Ann Taylor, okay? And everybody was under the impression, as I'm going to play it again right here, that this time frame of this killing is from 3 to 4 a.m. Why did they believe that this would happen between 3 and 4 a.m.? What would give them that inkling? You guys like that word?
The video was taken from a building on Linda Lane, several streets away from the crime scene on King Road. Video shows the vehicle traveling toward the crime scene. Later, Hall claims a similar vehicle can be seen on body camera video of an unrelated underage drinking bust. Hall pinpoints the car driving by at 2:58 a.m. and uses a digital overlay to place a Hyundai Elantra on top of the vehicle. Law and Crime took it a step further and superimposed the photo of a white car believed to be the Elantra that was caught on security camera by a local gas station that same night. It's important to note the vehicle has not been confirmed to be a Hyundai Elantra, and some believe the car appears to be a white Tesla. Later on, at 3:12 a.m., body camera video picks up what appears to be 4 people running under a street lamp in the background, and less than a minute later, a high-pitched noise. Confirmed to be a Hyundai Elantra, and some believe the car appears to be a white Tesla. Later on, at 3:12 a.m., body camera video picks up what appears to be 4 people running under a street lamp in the background, and less than a minute later, a high-pitched noise.
And that's right down the alley, right where you come from. Like, that leads right up to the house. 4 people.
Some online detectives believe this sound to be a scream, while others say it could be tires screeching. The timestamp on this noise is important to know.
Registered white Hyundai
Body cams. And they're both showing a timestamp of 3:12 a.m. So there's multiple undercovers.
Through our tips, through our leads, some of the evidence that came in, we start to identify patterns. And like we said earlier, we are confident that the occupant or occupants of that vehicle have information that's critical to this investigation. We also understand that even though there's some...
How can somebody come forward if they're asking for somebody that would, like, what's the time frame that they are looking for this person to come forward?
Sometimes a fascination with a particular case. Some people simply don't see the news and may not know that we're looking for it. So if we get the word out there, hey, maybe your neighbor has one in the garage that they don't drive very often. Maybe there's one that's just not on the registration database. Let us know. So far, we have a list of approximately 22,000 registered white Hyundai Elantras that fit into our criteria that we're sorting through. That's an awful lot of information, but it may not be all of them. So the public can help us with that.
22,000 fitting that criteria.
Again, that show was December 16th, 2022. For those of you that have said that the police didn't confirm looking for a white Elantra and evidence that came in, that Court TV production was December 16th, 2022. They had Brian Kohlberger on November 29th, 2022. And that was after they pulled Brian over 2 times in Indiana, as he was pulled over December 15th, 2022. The police...
Important to note as investigators.
And that even though there's sometimes a fascination with a particular case, some people simply don't see the news and may not know that we're looking for it. So if we get the word out there, hey, maybe your neighbor has one in the garage that they don't drive very often. Maybe there's one that's just not on the registration database. Let us know. So far, we have a list of approximately 22,000 registered white Hyundai Elantras that fit into our criteria that we're sorting through. That's a
Okay, fitting in so far, there's 22,000 white Hyundai Elantras that that fit into our criteria. Well, what's the criteria? 2011 to 2016, right? 2011, 2016. Now let's take a look. Okay, ready? And this is what they give us. Take a look. Now, these are two stock image photos. All right. One's a 2011 and one's a 2013 stock images, not the actual images. Okay. And this is their criteria, right? Is it 2011, 2013? Or is their criteria 2011 to 2016? Remember, what's this criteria? But what they put out and they never changed to the public was a 2011, 2013. All right, now check this out. I'm going to back this up a tad. All right. This is a 2015 back end. All right. Let's see, that makes it better. Now this is going to be a 2011. Let's see. There you go. That's more clear. Again, that's your 2011. Okay. Here's your 2015. See your lights out here? See your lights down there? I have to use a different one. It's not dark enough. right here, this is on your 2011. Your 2015, all the way off to the side. That's going to be your biggest when you're looking at the back of this vehicle. And that's what I believe that they have because they talk about this plate. Or I'm sorry, they talk about the front of it. But on the back of it, that's going to be your biggest difference is where you see those lights when you brake, when you're, parking, reversing, everything that they said that car did. And then here is this is the front of it, and this would be the plates that they say that, Pennsylvania doesn't have to have. And so this would be the front. See these right here? This is your 2015. It would look like this. There's no front plate. Okay, but it could still have like, your dealership in there. And then this. Got all these pieces of paper over here. (2015) tire. 2013 tire. Way more spokes, whatever you want to call them. They're not regular rims. (2011, 12, 13, and 14. That's all the model type on the front. Compared to This is your L shape. Your lights. Skating like a BMW. Again, 2013. These are just squares. This is your 2025. And then your wheels are just completely different. Also, your 2020 or your 2015. There's your wheels. Also, your mirror has the side blinker. This does not have it on 2011 to 2014. There is no side mirror. It's talking about, this is what an expert would be getting on the stand to show whatever stills that they're going to be looking at. This is what they would be pointing out. Because this is everything in the case against Brian Kohlberger, is that if that car is two different vehicles. If you go back to the PCA on WSU's campus, where Brian Kohlberger was a school, 2015, it was between 2014 and 2016. The one that they talked about by King was 2011 and 2013. These are so, when it would come to an expert, when it come to a mechanic, when it come to anybody that would deal with cars, there is such a big difference. And why have they never shown us the vehicle? Why did they use a stock image? Why did they use a stock image? Why don't they just show the vehicle? They don't even have to say the year. They could have just shown a still of the image of the vehicle. Have you guys ever seen this ever happen before? This is everything in the case against Brian Kohlberger. This is everything because they're putting him being there in such a small window, and this vehicle transported him. This is their case. And I believe that Ann Taylor already has one up on him because she has an FBI expert that has identified two different vehicles on two different campuses. $2011. Again, underneath, inside, there's your lights. 2012, they didn't switch the model yet. Same thing there with the lights. Oopsies. Look at this. We don't even know about when we see this, we have no idea about WSU's campus, okay? See? This is a 2011. See how many with the tires? It's like those piece of shit clip-ons. See that? But the 2013, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They show this angle. Both of these images are from a car, auto mile place. Why did they pick these two stock images to show that this is the car they're looking for? The below photos are stock images of a 2011, 2013 Hyundai Elantra and are not the actual vehicle. Well, no shit. But this is the vehicle that you're looking for, right? Well, I hate to break it to you. Those lights being way out over here on the outside is so different than two being under here. It's night and day where those lights are going to be on the back. This is where your lights will be on a 2011 to 14, right there underneath. And this is very, very noticeable when it's dark where your lights are. See the model from a 2011 and it's the 2014. See how they're still both underneath like that? So your 2011, 12, 13, and 14, okay? And guess what they're saying? They're saying that this car that's out in front of King, they're saying that those lights, how they don't show where the two pictures that they gave us have nothing to do with the back? Okay, do they not have a back picture of it? Because 2011, 2014, that's where your back under lights are, which is everything because Brian has a 2015. And your 2015 lights are spread out now on the outside. They are not under here like that. They're out here now. This is everything in Ann Taylor's case. If she can prove these lights are different. It's a totally different car. And you're going to be able to tell that. That's what experts do. This is their thing. But look at what they gave us. Now, isn't that something that the front of the vehicle, I mean, they're going to give us that right there. And I'm telling you, that is not what Brian's front looks like at all. His front has the L shape because that was the big new addition for 2015. The fog lights. See, 2012, just straight across. 2013, straight across. Now here you go, the big difference. 2015, it is the L-shaped lights. Not to mention your blinker. That's not on any of those. Again, look at your lights. Skinnier, and now you have your L. And you're going to be able to tell that. And that's the front end of it. See how there's no license plate? No license plate. So can you tell the difference if you were to look at those two vehicles? Right there. If you can't tell the difference between those two vehicles, you got some problems if this is what your expertise is in. And now if you're telling me that they won't be able to make that out, then they're also in trouble. Because you have an FBI guy saying it's a 2011 to 2013. By the King house leaving. And anybody can say, oh, no, it's the car. No, it's not the car. If this is different, if it looks like this this cannot be made on a 2015. You guys understand that? This has to be just like this. This is 2011, 12, 13, 14. And what they show us and what they said is that an FBI expert said that this is what the car was. And they use, see, straight across. There's no L shape there. And they asked him, well, could this be a 2000? Well, they showed him the King footage again and said, could this be a 2015? Well, yeah, I mean, I guess it could have been. But what image did you show him? Did you show him this? Because I don't see any FBI agent seeing these two side by side and saying that they can be the same vehicle. It's impossible. If you're playing photo hunt and I said, circle the differences, you would circle, those are different. Those are very, very noticeably different. And this is what they do for a living. So why would the FBI agent ever say that it was a 2011, 2013? Again, the FBI agent, the other thing that I thought was interesting is that when you look at the PCA, this is the other thing I think was interesting. Why you would ever say that something was a 2014 to 16, that's super interesting to me. Because now you're crossing over makes and models. You're crossing, like, I mean, that means you can't tell the features. If you're saying that something could be between 2014 2016, that means you cannot tell the difference of the make and model. Law enforcement officers provided video footage of suspect vehicle 1 to forensic examiners with the FBI Bureau of Investigation that regularly utilized surveillance footage to identify the year, make, and model of an unknown vehicle that is observed by one or more cameras during the commission of a criminal offense. He has 12 years experience with the FBI that did this. 35 years of law enforcement experience. After reviewing the numerous observations of suspect vehicle 1, the forensic examiner initially believed that the suspect vehicle 1 was a 2011 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra. Upon further review, he indicated it could also be a 2011 to 2016 Hyundai Elantra. This is flat out insanity to me. How? After reviewing the numerous observations of suspect vehicle 1, as a result, investigators have been reviewing information on persons in possession of a vehicle that is a 2011-2016 white Hyundai Elantra. Again, these are just my notes on when this all happened. Okay, so let's take a look. Then this part right here. Okay. Because this goes in chronological order. Investigators were given access to video footage on the Washington State Now campus. So this is the campus stuff from Idaho, from the King Road area house. Camera footage from the King Road house, basically right around there. He initially believed, now I want to know when this got changed. What's the date that he then said, okay, it could be between a 2011 2016? Was it after you had Brian Koberger? Okay. Now, so from the King Road footage, he initially said 2011 to 2013, which makes sense because it's the same type of model. Okay. Then later, at some point, he then retracts and to include all the way to 2016, which is, I want to know how you are now including a completely different model, because I just showed you guys the huge differences. Was it after then this, when investigators were given access to video footage on the Washington State University campus located in Pullman? A review of that video indicated that at approximately 2:44, a white sedan, we know all this, right? So they're taking it off of this footage, the 2:44, 2:47. And then the next sentences right here, which are, they then provided this footage to the same FBI forensic examiner. Again, we're going to be able to find the dates. When did you do this? The forensic examiner identified the vehicle observed in Pullman, Washington as being a 2014 to 2016 Hyundai Elantra. Again, 2014. That is so interesting to me. And if nobody thinks that this is important, it's very important. because this is everything. You have one of the biggest cases that are going on and so high profile. He comes back and says the King Road, 2011, 2013. Well, there's going to be a report as to why he said that. You have all these tools. So you have software that you use. That you would have taken this and put it in a program, wouldn't you have? Can you talk about that program that you used? Exactly, no chains. Exactly. If you're saying a 2011, 2013 white Hyundai Elantra was the car that was going back and forth right outside the home, that cannot be Brian's vehicle. He doesn't have a 2011, 2013. He has a 2015. And the differences are very, 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 very similar. I mean, the differences are very obvious. And trust me, they focus on the front license plate. That means so they have image of that front. And this to me is going to be very, very telling. So I believe that they have images of the front. And people can say, oh, well, the car was going so fast. The car was going, not when you're trying to make a stop and try to park the vehicle. You guys have seen the reenactment that was out there, that 3D model, like reenactment. I mean, how fast do you think you can go over there? Camera footage nowadays, it's way better than these aren't little dots traveling around. But this is very, very noticeable. And so now going back to this part, which is if I'm Ann Taylor, I would start saying the phrase, a 911 call can't come before a crime. You know, Dylan can't call 911. Or I'm sorry, Dylan did not call 911 after seeing this clad figure dressed in all black because there was no reason to call 911. Did Dylan see a knife in the hand of the person that was dressed in all black? Did you stop hearing any noises after like you saw that figure? Were there any noises still going on in the house? But you don't call 911 when there's no reason to call 911. And you would think that you would know when to call 911, right? So if he didn't have the sheath anymore, where was the knife? Where was the knife? You think he put a knife in his pocket? Now, if you see somebody that's dressed in all clad black, and again, very curious, is it a ski mask? Is it a surgical mask? It's a big difference to be like scary or not. People are wearing masks, surgical masks all the time because of COVID. So you're used to seeing people with surgical masks, and that's what everybody thought it was. Okay. So my question then is was it a ski mask or was it a surgical mask? And did you call people? Remember, Steve says they made phone calls. Remember, Steve says they called, like she called the roommates or whatever. Well, guess what I used to do when my roommates would be loud? I would call them to tell them to shut up. I'm not getting out of bed. Remember, I was saying this in my lives. Who gets out of bed? No, you just text. You just call. You say, what are you guys doing? Keep it down. You don't leave your bed. So how do we know that those phone calls happened after she saw this clad black figure? Why couldn't those phone calls have happened when it was noisy? And then you have to ask, well, how do you know that? How do you know that you made the phone call after you saw the guy in black? And then if nobody answered, then you didn't call 911? Did you hear noises still? Was the TVs on? Did you sleep when you sleep? Do you sleep with earbuds in? Do you have a TV on? Was there other TVs on? Are there was there music playing? But Dylan, you didn't need to call 911 because there was no reason to call 911. Otherwise, you would have called 911. Can you remember? How do you know the time? Why was there ever that you slept downstairs? Who told you to say that? The police? Did you tell them that? But Anne's going to put this all in a way to slip somebody up to say, I don't know. I don't remember. I don't remember. And as soon as she says that, it's curtains. How do you know that you didn't call them when it was noisy? How do you know that you called them after the clad figure? You said you'd been drinking all day. The other things to me would be, you thought you heard Kaylee playing with the dog. Does Kaylee normally play with the dog at 4:00 in the morning? Is this something normal? Because it seems like more likely that you would call Kaylee if you heard her playing with the dog at 4:00 in the morning versus that would make sense that why you would call somebody at that point. So are you sure you didn't call her because you were hearing the noises of her playing with the dog and it made you, you woke up because of that? And then she's going to say, isn't it true you didn't call 911 because your roommates were still alive? And because you had no reason not to think that they were alive. And saying something like, did you use your phone before you saw the clad and all black figure? Did you use the phone before that? Did you use the phone after that? So you used your phone beforehand. Who'd you call before you saw the clad black figure? I don't know. I don't remember. You don't remember who you called before? Because before you saw the clad black figure, wasn't it loud? You didn't call anybody to say like, hey, why are you guys being so loud? Who's the last person that you called? Like, who'd you call before the clad figure? Did you call your roommates to let them know you were coming home that night? Did you text them? What time did you fall asleep that night? So you went to bed at 4 a.m. and you woke up at 4 a.m.? Did you go to sleep that night? How come Bethany says that you were sleeping downstairs with her? Was it your idea or was it the police's idea to say that you were sleeping downstairs? How could you have fallen asleep at 4 a.m. but then woke up at 4 a.m. when you heard Kaylee playing with the dog? Are you even sure that you fell asleep that night? Did Xana tell you that she made a DoorDash call that night? Did Ethan, did any of them ask you if you wanted food because they were ordering food from DoorDash? Did anybody ask anybody if they wanted food? Do you normally eat at night? Does Xana normally eat at night? Who usually goes and gets the DoorDash when the DoorDash comes? Did you hear the DoorDash? Was there music playing when you went to bed that night? When you go to bed, are you on your phone? Were you watching anything on your phone? After you saw the cloud back figure when you went to your room, how long did it take you to fall back asleep? Were you on social media at all? Were you texting? Were you watching YouTube? So my question is that when Mr. Gonzalez says that, well, the roommates called, like, they made phone calls. Well, I don't know what that means. They made phone calls. I don't know what that means. To me, that doesn't mean that somebody is alive or dead or anything like that. How do you know when you saw the clad black figure? How are you gauging that time frame? How do you know that it was at 4 o'clock? Could it have been at 5? Could it have been at 6? How do you know this?
That's an awful lot of information, but it may not be all of them. So the public can help us with that.
22,000 fitting that criteria.
Again, that show was December 16th, 2022. For those of you that have said that the police didn't confirm looking for a white Elantra and evidence that came in, that Court TV production was December 16th, 2022. They had Brian Kohlberger on November 29th, 2022. And that was after they pulled Brian over 2 times in Indiana, as he was pulled over December 15th, 2022. All right, now with what you know and what you heard right now compare it to this. Compare it to this 17 minutes. Everything that you just heard in this live about when people would have known about this 911 call. Okay, check this out.
All knew this before the rest of the world basically did. Like how and why? And I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea.
How does one individual kill 4 people at night and not wake up the other 2 roommates?
Our investigation will continue to look at all avenues of that investigation. I cannot disclose any of that information. I don't even know that information at this point in time, and that's why we're continuing to investigate.
Were the roommates home at the time of the attack?
There was other people home at that time, but we're not just focusing just on them. We're focusing on everybody that may be coming and going from that residence.
So since they were home, was it a hostage situation?
No, it was not.
What happened, and she told me that 4 students were stabbed, and they had died, and that she and I said, well, how do you know that? And she said her sorority sister, who is a nursing student and attends school in Spokane, often when she's in town will stay at with my daughter and her roommates because they're all friends. They're the same. It's called a PC class. They all graduated together. They're PCs. I think they're PC 19s. So so her sorority sister called and told her, and the reason and I said, well, why did she know? And she said because of her boyfriend, Mom. He goes to UI, and so she's friends with the Pi Phis because he goes there. And I said, but how do the Pi Phis know? How do you know at 10 o'clock and we don't know until now? She goes, I don't know that. And I said, but why do you know now? Why did you know at 10? And it's 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and we don't know. And you know everything that happened, but the news doesn't say that. Because at the same time, I'm going through my phone looking for any information I can find. And there's just no information. And so then I said, what happened? And she told me that, and what she said to me was that there were 4 kids were killed, they were stabbed, and that there were 2 roommates there who locked themselves in their bedrooms because they were scared, but they heard a lot of noise. But it's a party house, so maybe they didn't know what was happening. And I said, hold on a minute. I said, did they call 911? She goes, I don't know, but that is what I was told. That is what and I did correct it with the FBI as soon as I learned that this is not working. It's not right. So a lot of kids were there early in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
They were there early in the morning. 8 o'clock. That's what she said. It seems like I think the sorority sister might have stayed at my daughter's house or not, but knew at 8:30, and there was a narrative discovered and built, and 2 people who are really important to the case I don't think they did it. I think they thought it was a shakedown. I do not think any student did it.
Right.
But I think that they all
nobody
know
told you
far
that,
more
right? That's
than they're
something
saying.
that when it comes to the shakedown stuff,
Well, I know
that's
that
not something that your daughter
Well,
told you
the
that she thought it was a shakedown.
no, that I was told. No, I was told that.
You were told what? When were you told that?
It was a drug house that they were there. The creeper was there, and there were people there.
Okay. Well, hold on. Who told you this? And when was this told?
My child told me this. This was in the beginning.
And she was told by the student from University of Idaho?
The student's girlfriend from University of Idaho.
Okay. Where did she get that information from?
My daughter told me is that she got it from the Pi.
Oh, she got it from the sorority.
Yeah, she got it from the sorority. That's what she told me at the time.
You wake up in the morning on November 13th. Can you just describe your day?
So I don't remember exactly when I woke up. I just remember waking up and opening up my Snapchat, and there were dozens of Snapchat messages in all the group chats. And I just remember oh, this is kind of whack. And then I got up and I was getting ready for work, and then when I kind of woken up a little bit more, I started to go through them because I did not want to have to read a lot of shit early in the morning. And then I ended up I was just sitting there scrolling through it, and then opened up the messages, and then there it was. It was holy shit, did you guys hear about what happened? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm scrolling up, and there's just, lines and lines and lines of text. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's awake. I mean, and this is before 9:30 on a Sunday, and I remember that because I had to go to work. I ended up not going because I wanted to be with my brothers, right? Kind of obvious. But yeah, and it was, like I don't remember what exact time I woke up, but I remember like yeah, we were all talking about it. We all knew about it, and like my boss, my coworkers were texting me later, you know, asking me like if everything was okay, and they had even heard about things. They heard like it was a shooting and stuff like that. So, and yeah, it was kind of weird because like at the beginning, everyone said like at the beginning, like very very first messages where people were talking about the stabbings or like a stabbing had occurred. And then it changed to an OD, and it was just kind of weird. Like looking back on it, it changed to an OD so quickly, and like nobody questioned it, and like we didn't question it either because we knew there were drugs in that house, and like just genuinely thought like, okay, they got a bad batch, and that's just what happened, right? Because you see it on the news, it happens in bigger cities.
So you said you had to go to work, and you said you had to be to work at 9:30. So this would have happened before, like you got to work.
Yeah, no, yeah, no, this was definitely and it was like I don't know 5-10 minute drive to work, and like I had to like get ready too. So you're talking like well before 9 o'clock in the morning at least.
Hi, Heather Roberts with ABC News. Just to follow up on what she asked. So the other two roommates were there at the time of the attack?
All the information that we have from our investigation is that yes, they were.
Okay, but they were unhurt.
That is correct.
So is there any explanation as to why it took so long then for someone to call 911? You have surviving witnesses to an incident at 3 or 4 in the morning, and the 911 call didn't come until noon?
I don't think I ever said that they were witnesses. I said they were there. So, you know, we don't know why that call came in at noon and not in the middle of the night. Would have we loved for that to have happened? Yes, but that's not how it took place.
That's
so
money.
that's why we're investigating everything still to try to pull all the pieces together.
They were like, okay, it's an accident. Let's not panic, you know. And I remember texting Kaylee. See if she was okay. And she obviously didn't ever respond because it was in the morning.
Moscow PD investigating a homicide on King Road near campus. Somebody had done something really bad. He said, I think
Pull all the pieces together.
They were like,
No, we don't know why that call.
Call 911.
All the information that we have.
Just to follow up on what she asked. So the other two roommates were there at the time of the attack?
All the information that we have from our investigation is that yes, they were.
Okay, but they were unhurt.
That is correct.
So is there any explanation as to why it took so long then for someone to call 911? You have surviving witnesses to an incident at 3 or 4 in the morning, and the 911 call didn't come until noon?
I don't think I ever said that they were witnesses. I said they were there. So, you know,
Why is he so adamant of correcting? Like that's actually a right narrative, though. There was a witness, but he's correcting it to actually make it. So what you want to do is you want to go back and look at all the times that Fry ever corrected something. This is a tell, in my opinion, that he's going the opposite way of actually like what the truth is, because they were a witness according to the PCA. So were they not a witness at this time because their story changed, or is he trying to again protect the witnesses because we don't want anybody to think that there are witnesses because then they're in danger? You know what I'm saying? There'd be this danger. Somebody knows that there's a witness to this, that they would be, hello.
Then for someone to call 911, you have surviving witnesses to an incident at 3 or 4 in the morning, and the 911 call didn't come until noon?
I don't think I ever said that they were witnesses. I said they were there. So, you know, we don't know why that call came in at noon and not in the middle of the night. Would have we loved for that to have happened? Yes, but that's not how it took place. So that's why we're investigating everything still to try to pull all the pieces together.
they were like, okay, it's an accident. Let's not panic, you know. And I remember texting Kaylee.
said they were there. So, you know, we don't know why that call came in at noon and not in the middle of the night.
Shouldn't you?
Would have we loved for that to have happened? Yes, but that's not how it took place. So
Why didn't it? Why wouldn't it take place like that? Why would there even be a 911 call in the middle of the night if there were no witnesses to it? Who the fuck could call 911? Nobody could call 911. Everyone's sleeping.
that's why we're investigating everything still to try to pull all the pieces together.
They were like, okay, it's an accident. Let's not panic, you know. And I remember texting Kaylee.
What is an accident? This is going with everything that Dave just said. We thought it was an accident. Like what, like an overdose? Accident? Bad batch? What would be an accident? People getting stabbed. It's not an accident. People getting shot. That's not an accident. None of that would be an accident.
Let's not panic, you know. And I remember texting Kaylee. See if she was okay. She obviously didn't ever respond because it was in the morning.
Because it was in the morning. Why are you texting Kaylee in the morning? I thought that nobody got, you know, the police weren't even called till noon. Would we have liked to get a call in the middle of the night? Could that just be a law enforcement thing? Would we have liked to have gotten a call in the middle of the night? But it didn't happen that way. Well, why? It's really important.
Correct.
So is there any explanation as to why it took so long then for someone to call 911? You have surviving witnesses to an incident at 3 or 4 in the morning, and the 911 call didn't come until noon?
I don't think I ever said that they were witnesses. I said they were there. So, you know, we don't know why that call came in at noon and not in the middle of the night. Would have we loved for that to have happened? Yes, but that's not how it took place. So that's why we're investigating everything still to try to pull all the pieces together.
They were like, okay, it's an accident. Let's not panic, you know. And I remember texting Kaylee. See if she was okay. She obviously didn't ever respond because it was in the morning.
Moscow PD investigating a homicide on King Road near campus.
Somebody had done something really bad. He said, I think Ethan's dead. And then we walked out into the courtyard and somebody said that Xana was dead.
My niece said something bad has happened to Kaylee. So then I started calling Maddie.
At this point, we didn't have any answers. Like, we didn't know anything.
It was Sunday around
We were watching football.
1-ish, and we were
like
watching
every
football.
family, or a lot of families on Sunday.
And
We were watching
our
football.
son was here. Everybody was home except for she was down at her home
We
in LA.
gathered.
Bad has happened to Kaylee. So then I started calling Maddie.
At this point, we didn't have any answers. Like, we didn't know anything.
It was Sunday around
We were watching football.
1-ish, and we were
like
watching
every
football.
family, or a lot of families on Sunday.
And
We were watching
our
football.
son was here. Everybody was home except for she was down at her home. It was Sunday around
We were watching football.
1-ish, and we were
like
watching
every
football.
family, or a lot of families on Sunday.
And
We were watching
our
football.
son was here. Everybody was home except for she was down at her home
We
in LA.
gathered. We gathered. on
And
Sunday.
my niece called me and she was freaking out. And she said, Christy, have you talked to Kaylee? And I said, yesterday, like last night. And she said, something bad happened to Kaylee. something bad happened, and she was just bawling. And I said, well, what do you mean? What do you mean? And she said, I think Keely's dead. And I said, well, what do you mean? And she
All our
said,
stomachs just dropped.
she said there was somebody just called me and they live down there. And she said there was a party last night and somebody went in and shot the party up and Kaylee was shot. I was like, what? And I just threw my phone. I started screaming. I started telling everybody to call Olivia and to get all of her roommates on the phone. And I started calling Maddie, and Maddie wouldn't answer, and Maddie wouldn't answer. I said, no, this can't be, because Maddie would have called me. If Kaylee was shot last night at a party, Maddie or Jack would have called me. Like, no, and I called Kaylee and I went straight to voicemail. I was calling Maddie, I was calling Jack, it was ringing. I turned on the TV and I saw it said 1122 King Road. Like, Kaylee's car was in the driveway, Maddie's car was in the driveway, but it was saying an unconscious person. My phone, I started screaming, I started telling everybody to call Olivia and to get all of her roommates on the phone. And I started calling Maddie, and Maddie wouldn't answer, I said, no, this can't be, because Maddie would have called me. If Kaylee was shot last night at a party, Maddie or Jack would have called me. Like, no, and I called Kaylee and I went straight to voicemail. I was calling Maddie, I was calling Jack, it was ringing. I turned on the TV and I saw it said 1122 King Road. Like, Kaylee's car was in the driveway, Maddie's car was in the driveway. But it was saying an unconscious person. And we're saying, okay, maybe.
On November 13th, Moscow, Idaho, November 13th. At 11:58 hours, Moscow Police Department responded to a call on King Road for an unconscious individual. They weren't revealing the names. I want to know if this was edited. It does not say 1122 King Road. I don't recall there being any media there on Monday night. Or on that night during the day for there to be the house, the King Road house, to be on the media that day.
This isn't like maybe something happened. So Steve starts calling the police. Steven, our son, started calling the hospital, and he started calling the PD and saying my name is Gonzalez, and we heard that my daughter Kaylee Gonzalez was killed in an accident, and they said, oh, we can't give you any more information, we'll call you back. Well, we just, next thing you know, some more phones started ringing. Our daughters that came running down, 16 and 17 years old, came and said, Mom, somebody just called me and said that Kaylee's dead. And we're like, what? Like, who was it? And she's like, I don't know. It's somebody that they're there and Kaylee's dead. And we were like, oh my God, like this can't be, It's just very, very, very dramatic.
These protocols have to be updated.
Yeah.
These protocols of somebody showing up at your door 10 hours later is ridiculous.
Because we had hours of panic before the sheriff department.
It was terrible.
It was about 4:30.
And
So you guys, they never called you. You guys found this out from family members that were in the area, and you guys didn't get notified. You actually reached out to them, and you guys still didn't get notified.
These protocols have to be updated.
Yeah.
These protocols of somebody showing up at your door 10 hours later is ridiculous.
Because we had hours of panic before sheriff
It was
department.
terrible.
It was about 4:30, and
So you guys, you know, they never called you. You guys found this out from family members that were in the area, and you guys didn't get notified. You actually reached out to them, and you guys still didn't get notified.
Okay, maybe this isn't like maybe something happened. So Steve starts calling the police. Steven, our son, started calling the hospital, and he started calling the PD and saying my name's Gonzalez, and we heard that my daughter Keely Gonzalez was killed in an accident, and they said, "Oh, we can't give you any more information. We'll call you back." Well, we just next thing you know, some more phones started ringing. Our daughters that came running down, 16 and 17 years old, came and said, "Mom, somebody just called me and said the Kaylee's dead." And we're like, "What? Like, who was it?" And she's like, "I don't know. It's somebody that they're there, and Kaylee's dead." And we were like, "Oh my God, like this can't be." It's just very, very, very
Yeah, these
dramatic.
protocols have to be updated.
Yeah.
These protocols of somebody showing up at your door 10 hours later is ridiculous.
Because we had hours of panic before sheriff
It was
department.
terrible.
It was about 4:30, and
So you guys, you know, they never called you. You guys found this out from family members that were in the area, and you guys didn't get notified. You actually reached out to them, and you guys still didn't get notified.
He wound up calling them twice.
I
and
get
then
it.
I
Their
said,
protocols are all about, like, maybe they'll commit suicide or something, but they have to be updated because social media moves so fast, so quick.
11:58 a.m. This phone call goes out to the police, and I'm like, "Hey, Dave, you told me that you knew about this at 9. Let's say that I would have come back like months ago when this originally happened. Let's say that I was like your family member, and you're telling me about this, and I would have been like, Dave, wait, you told me that you knew about this like at 9:30 in the morning. Well, 911 wasn't called until like 11:58 a.m. Like, do you think that that's weird?" You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, right? Is like
2.5 hours.
we don't know, and we never really we didn't a lot of us kind of unplugged ourselves from the case and all the news and everything because just we live in it so much. You see dozens of reporters just going to class each day. You don't want to walk out of your freaking house, But we just kind of stayed unplugged to where we didn't really even think about it or connect the dots. And that's why when I heard WSU's Kim's thing, when she said that, and literally when she was talking about how she yelled at her daughter like that, it literally made me think about my mom doing that to me. That's what it felt like, was she was my mom saying that same shit to me. How the hell did you know? And it just it literally just blew my mind. How did we know? How did I not think of that? Wait, what? And it just made me have so many other questions, holy shit, she's right. And not even to mention that, how the hell did her daughter know? Her daughter goes to WSU. We have way closer. I can go through on my phone, one person or two people and be in that house, right? In that sorority. I've got girls on my phone that are in the sorority. I've got people that know other people in that sorority, upper and lower classmen. How did that girl find out? And because
depending on who people are friends with and stuff like that.
Right, but even then, that quickly, you're gonna go to your inner circles first, right? That's why I was talking to the one kid, because his girlfriend was freaking out, and so he was having to be there for her without being able to go to the sorority. So he's texting her and letting her blow off all this steam and telling me what she's telling him too, amidst the other information that we're receiving. And yeah, it just, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think we just have a really good way of being young and dumb and staying distracted with school and partying and everything else. And
After you hear this, now doesn't it make way more sense that if you were talking about this at 10 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning, that it would seem like hours upon hours until 4:30. Quick to say that that's when the sheriff showed up at 4:30. I think the hush part was to not be telling people about the fact that it had gone so long without the police getting phone calls. And I think Olivia is super smart. And I watch this and I see her sitting here and my heart breaks because that's the only person I was looking at during this part right here. Olivia has so much on her mind.
Yesterday, like last night, and she said something bad happened. Something bad happened, and she was just bawling. And I said, "Well, what do you mean? What do you mean?" And she said, "I think Keely's dead." And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" And she
All of our
said,
stomachs just dropped.
she said there was somebody just called me and they live down there. She said there was a party last night, and somebody went in and shot the party up, and Kaylee.
She just knows that something isn't right.
I was like, what? And I just threw my phone. I started screaming. I started telling everybody to call Olivia and to get all her roommates on the phone. And I started calling Maddie, and Maddie wouldn't answer. I said, no, this can't be, because Maddie would have called me. If Kaylee was shot last night at a party, Maddie or Jack would have called me. Like, no. And I called Kaylee and went straight to voicemail. I was calling Maddie, I was calling Jack, it was ringing. I turned on the TV and I saw it said 1122 King Road. Like, Kaylee's car was in the driveway, Maddie's car was in the driveway, but it was saying an
This was awful.
And we're saying, okay, maybe this isn't like, maybe something happened. So Steve starts calling the police. Steven, our son, started calling the hospital, and he started calling the PD and saying my name's Gonzalez, and we heard that my daughter Keely Gonzalez was killed in an accident, and they said, we can't give you any more information, we'll call you back. Well, next thing you know, some more phones started ringing. Our daughters that came running down, 16 and 17 years old, came and said, Mom, somebody just called me and said that Kaylee's dead. And we're like,
That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. That's crazy. Anyways, yeah. So if you push this all up, I think you're looking at everything that Dave and Kim, and I think that the Gonzalez's knew. They know what time they got their phone calls. So, yeah, it's just awful. And I believe that this interview was done right before they had an arrest. I think this was put out, or like it was being edited. So, but I think this was done. I want to say that they were there when Kaylee had her celebration of life with Maddie, and that ended up being like the same time that they announced the arrest, I want to say. So yeah. Yeah. Yeah, all these people's phones shouldn't, there should be all these timestamps with all these phones. And then if you think about it, why aren't they using any of the victims' phones for time of death? It's wild. We're going to go with Dylan's and Bethany's cell phones, and we're going to go with Dylan's statement. That's why we believe from 4 to 4:0, whatever, 4 to 4:25. Thank you, guys. Yep, that was Chronicles of Olivia that did this. But these discrepancies of like this time, if you really actually look at everybody's interview, there is no discrepancy on time. Everybody is saying the same thing. And that is that this was all happening in the morning. And the police are telling you that they would have liked to have gotten a call earlier. And I don't know if then he maybe was like, he had to say, in the middle of the night, I have to go back and like see if I thought that he added more lib than, because he called himself, but he catches himself here. He's like, I did never say that they were witnesses, but they were. So, at least one of them was. So if you want to go back and watch the pressers, watch when Fry is correcting something. Because it's like, no, we can't have that out there. We have to make this correction. Does not mean that that's actually truth, but we need to publicly correct that, because that would put people in danger, in my opinion. If there's a killer running around, and they hear, wait a second, there's witnesses. Who are these witnesses? That would put them in danger. What, to be killed? But I thought this was an isolated targeted attack. So I don't. Leave her DNA on there. Yeah, leave her DNA on there. Thank you there. Thank you to the new members. The cops know that the crime scene is beyond retrievable, and that is the only reason they want it down. They don't want a jury to see just how bad they upped up. I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of photos. I mean, I was chat glitching. YouTube's been glitching lately, so well, thank you there, Heather. Christina says if the murder didn't happen between 4 and 4:20 a.m., he didn't do it. But then also we don't have proof it's his Elantra. There's a lot of unanswered questions, as Lana pointed out. Yeah, you have an FBI agent giving two different descriptions of a vehicle. They're really gonna have to drive it home that the make and the model of the vehicle, because it's that obvious. And why didn't they never show the vehicle? I've never, ever seen anybody use a stock image on something when they have it, and you would just, why wouldn't you? That's my question, is why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you show it? What would be preventing you from showing that? Yeah, I think her sister is living a nightmare every single day. I think that it's so sad. So freaking sad. And like, you're just welcoming your new baby, and it's so freaking sad. I think she knows a lot. I think she's smart. I think she hit the nail on the head. She said, you guys are not safe there. Everything that girl has ever said has been money. And I think she knows a lot. Lana, have you heard the other Ring audio? No, I have not. Thank you for that. I'll check it out. Where's this new audio? Can only imagine. Add to the transparency. What about the gas station photo or video of the car? I think that just puts another, I don't think that's the car, but you're just putting another vehicle that looks like it in the area. That could be it. They're really gonna have to drive home let this happen, in this 8 minutes. And I've been listening to Ted Bundy the past couple nights, thanks to Bella. I never ever watched one single thing about Ted Bundy, and I have the past couple nights. And they were talking about the description, and in one of the clips, it's talking about eyebrows and nose. It was wild, actually. I think the clip is up. I think she put the clip up maybe on her channel. I don't know. I've been watching a lot of that stuff though, but was this like a Bundy thing where he went in, meaning the killer, whoever did this, but everything that the police have ever said, it's like, no, that's not what it is. This is an isolated targeted attack. I don't know. Could it still be like a serial killer thing and be isolated targeted attack? I think the word isolated kind of messes with that, but I don't know. That's not my thing. I'm not, serial killer guru. I'm an evidence person. What is the shit going around about a red Trans Am? That was the stuff that they talked about here. In what's his name had to come out and clear it too. And they said that the rumors about the red car, that's in all the tips here. So it's on page, they put like all the rumors. There was a part where it said we're putting to rest all the rumors. Here it is. The rumors. Rumor control. It says this is a rumor control. There has been an extensive media interest regarding an incident at Taylor Ave and Banfield on November 13th at 3:01 a.m. This incident was an alcohol offense, which was addressed by the on-scene officer. This is not related to the murder investigations. Further details regarding this incident, you can make a public request, can be submitted. We have not changed our belief that the murders were a targeted attack. However, investigators have not concluded if the target was the residents or its occupants. Then it says, there have been online reports of a red Mustang on South Deacon Street being processed as part of the murder investigation. This information is not accurate, and the vehicle is not connected to this incident. That's the red, I don't know if was it on Deacon? Wasn't it on Deacon? Again, that's the only thing that was ever talked about as a red vehicle, but they called in these tips. So there have been online reports of a red Mustang on South Deacon Street being processed as part of the murder investigation. This information is not accurate, and the vehicle is not connected to this incident. So the red car was talked about back in the day, and I think it was more of like a locals thing. Again, that's just my take. I will help you when I retire. Until then, I will help you financially. Thanks again on behalf of all families who have lost loved ones. Yes. So, again, thank you guys for being here. I just want to know the stock image. I don't know why you would ever use a stock image. You wouldn't. Makes absolutely no sense. They clearly need to keep the car under wraps. I don't know. It tells me, was the footage shitty? Would somebody take a look at that and that was a car person and know right away that it wasn't what they were saying? Because what I would think you would do is take the image of the WSU vehicle and post that, and then you would take a vehicle of what it looked at King and you'd post that, and you would have those two side by side like they did with the stock image, and then that's it. I just can't think that what the reasoning would be if you truly need the help of the public. Thank you there. No chains, no more. Yep, great point there, Sarah. Nobody's, car looks that clean. Well, unless it's Brian's. I think he has OCD. I feel like I'm a freaking Elantra expert now of all the Elantra shit I've been doing. But guys, it is such a big difference between a 2000 and 2016, 2015. I mean, those were completely, that's when they were redoing the like 2013 to a 14 and a 12 and 11. Like those all look the same because it's the same. They didn't do any exterior big changes. A 2011 only has two different, even like I think it was a LE and a limited. And then your 2015 had 8 different models. Like the wheels are so different. The wheels. And then the time frame. Where was Brian if that was him traveling from WSU? Did he pull off the side of the road? Because it would not take you that long to get to where the camera caught him on at 3:26 a.m. and where he was at 2:47. Like, so where did he pull off the side of the road and just like chill for like 15 minutes? Did he pick somebody up? Is that even the vehicle that went, like they're saying this car just boom ends up looking like a car that comes on camera over here off on somebody's ring over in the area of, like, there's just so much assumption going on. I just hope they have blood in the car of all the victims. Done deal. And then boom, let the families decide what happens. Kelly, thank you very much. That was really kind. But I feel like whenever something comes up, the media says, oh, well, he had so much stuff. If I was to say, oh, I'm praying for the family's sake that, because you don't want this to go on for family members. You don't want this for them. That this is the guy and that there's going to be this blood evidence and there's going to be this physical evidence. And, that they're able to get all the answers that they want and need. But if there is no blood evidence in the vehicle, you know what everyone's going to say? He had all this time to clean his car. That's why there's nothing in there. Okay. Versus saying, well, that's interesting. Versus saying, oh, wait, what about all this evidence? What about all this evidence? It's all this overwhelming evidence, I don't know what overwhelming evidence we're talking about here. I see a lot of inconsistencies. That's what I see. I see a lot of circumstantial evidence, which circumstantial evidence is, trust me, it's 2023. Circumstances with digital evidence is really, it could be really compelling. When you had Brian's car November 29th, and if the car was that important, and I can't wait to hear about him cleaning the car with bleach. Where are these photos? I want to see. Don't you think they would have taken pictures of that? If you're a police officer and you watched him do this, that you would have pictures of him doing that? Well, I hope so. But I want to see this bleach, because who cleans their car with bleach? It's just sad when you hear the words that there's all this overwhelming evidence. And then I just ask somebody, well, what is it? Tell me what it is. Tell me what's overwhelming. Because in my opinion, you're not even tying him now to King. You have a 2011, 2013 vehicle that's over there. Because I don't believe the FBI made a mistake. I don't believe that they made a mistake. I think that it's not a good enough image, and that's why you could say it. That's maybe why you can get away with saying this 2011, 2016. But again, that's a really big head scratcher for me because a 2011 compared to 2016 is very, very different when you're talking about what they will be looking at. I mean, what if Brian comes back and he has all these like debit card transactions of him going to the car wash all the time because he's that OCD? Because he keeps like a really clean car. He's a neat freak and controlling in that aspect. I mean, so he's always at the car wash. That's what he did before. It's what he was always doing. Would that change anybody's mind about? Nope. Yeah, exactly. Truth seeker, unverified evidence according to law to the lawyer. Yep. I enjoy his take on things. I feel like I'm saying the same thing. Like, where are you getting this information from? Like, who are you getting this from? You look exhausted. Oh, girl, I was all over town this weekend, man. We had it was a great weekend. I think you should be exhausted otherwise it means you're not doing it right. Yeah, one of the things that Scott said right off the rip, he said that I would want to see everybody's hands. All these schools should have not let people leave, and they should have had to go to their classrooms, and everybody should have had to show their hands because there would have been bruising. There would have been bruising on your hands. That's what Scott was saying. Scott Roeder. You want to see people's hands. If there was a bunch of stab wounds and things like that, that your hand would be bruised. You can't change anyone's mind. That's why in order to be exonerated, you have to go through the court process and show the people. Yes. I guess I'm just trying to understand why more people aren't, when you see a poll come up and it says, do you think Brian Kohlberger's guilty? And it has like a couple different options. I wouldn't be clicking on the button that says innocent. And I definitely wouldn't be clicking on the button that says guilty. I would be clicking on the button that says, I don't know, not enough evidence. If the PCA is what you want me to convict him on, then no. A death penalty case? No. So I just can't believe when you see these polls and people are like, it's like 80 and 90%. I'm just like, wow. Tell me what there is. Like, wow, that's like, okay. You didn't even say like, you don't know. You say you know, but I want you to tell me what you know so that somebody can inform you that what you think you know is not the truth. Because none of that shit is out there that would convict him right now. So how are you saying that? Just wows me. Yep, you do. And the courts take a long time. Yeah, doctor's appointment, barber shop, work. I don't know. And then you have one kid that says, yeah, he just started giving out A's. Well, maybe he felt bad for your ass. You know, I don't know. You know, Brian probably knew that he was on body cam when he got pulled over. I will say that, like, you can't be like, think that somebody's smart and then not give them that credit, like, across the board. But so he would have known that he was on body cam, and maybe he was on his best behavior because that ever being, you know, seen. But Brian wasn't wrong about the law. She was actually wrong. And he didn't get like, he did a really good job acting. Let's just put it that way. If that's not how he normally act, like it is. So I don't know. Here he had a female that pulled him over. He was actually right in the situation. She was not right. And he was apologizing like, hey, I'm not trying to like, you know, whatever. I didn't see like a condescending, you know, you watch these other body cams of the guy police officers in Moscow, the way that they were talking to the girls versus the way that they were talking to the boys. And I think that there's a complete bias over there. Like they talk down to these females that go, you know, Idaho to the, you know, the university. And then the boys, like you just let these two dudes answer a girls' sorority house that you have no idea where any of the people are. Nobody's there that lives there. There's a party going on and you let this party go on. That doesn't seem like the right thing to do in a situation like that. I think the right thing they would do is, okay, well, if nobody's here that lives here, then you all need to leave. So close it up, walk, you know, I'm going to wait here until all y'all get the hell out of here and you're going to shut off the music, you know, and you watch them all leave. But wouldn't it concern you if you went to somebody's house and the person that lives there or the multiple people that live there, none of them are home and there's just a house full of fucking people there? Like, that's not concerning for you as a police officer. I just think that screams concern, especially girls. I mean, you hear all the time about like, even like date rapes and stuff like that. Well, how do you know that they're not inside I can't think that if the cops came to my house right now and there was a party going on and I said, and somebody answers the door that doesn't live here, and then they're like, well, we'll go get the owner. Oh, nobody's here. That the cops would just leave. I don't think that they would do that. And then this cop thinks that he got Maddie's phone number. No, Maddie called one of the guys' phones, or they called Maddie's phone, and you talked to Maddie on the kid's phone. So no, you didn't get any number. You don't realize this, so you have to go back that night. And you're like, oh man, I didn't get the number. Well, no shit, Sherlock. You talk like, so you don't even know if you were talking to Maddie. We all know what her voice sounds like, so that was Maddie. But they don't know that. I just think that that's crazy. Wild to me. Unsolved crimes uncovered. Atlanta police contacted me. I don't even know how to do that. I'm gonna give you the Fry comment. I don't even know that answer. I don't even know. Truth and transparency. There were reports made that the perp came in through the upper balcony into Keely's old room, which was supposed to be empty by that night. Murphy was there. Mhm. I don't even know if law enforcement was talking to Maddie. Put an investigation and we'll investigate that. Why nobody is remotely talking about a veteran that was just, taken out when the apartment was secure. Like everybody was out of the apartment according to law enforcement, but then according to one of the downstairs tenants, she was in her apartment when that all happened. So I have no idea. I think it's extremely interesting that would happen a month after the murders of the students and them just immediately be able to say that has nothing to do with. How do you know that? How do you know that? And even if you know that, just you don't even have to speak on that. It's just wild. Right after Brian left, boom, Brent's shot. I don't know. I would just do anything and everything I could for somebody that served our country. There's no way, like, you'd run it, you would know who he was, and you're not going to take out a vet. And if you are, like, shame on you. Like, I have no words for that. And there did not be more about any of that. And he was, I don't know. I feel bad. I feel bad. I hope that Judge is practicing the names. That's what I'm hoping for. And if you were on the jury, this had to happen in, let's say, 10 minutes or less. Like that, I think that's a hard sell for people that, you got your average Joe Schmoes that you're going to come and voir dire and, pick from and put them on the jury. And I think that's going to be a tough sell to say that this all happened in that time frame. I know that how did somebody do that so quickly? Like, wouldn't that be a question that you would have? How did that happen? And then wouldn't it be a question of like, wait, how did that happen? And nobody, heard it. Nobody called 911. I mean, just think of people that aren't the true crimers of the world. I just would think that you would have so many questions about that. If you weren't, I would be like, wait, what? This happened? How fast? Why? Oh, he's just another Bundy, though. He's just another Bundy. He's a Bundy. He's a Bundy. Oh, he was going to be a serial killer. Think about that. Like, you could put on a great case for somebody. You got people that they're the ones that decide your fate. The people that are on the jury. I want to know how quick Brian is. No question. How long do you think this would take? I think that the person would open up Dylan's room. I think that would be one of how do you know where everybody is? How do you not go into any of the bedrooms? How? Think about that. She got up 3 times, opened up the door, and allegedly, according to Ashley Banfield, yelled. And the killer didn't hear this. The only way that you don't hear that is if there's loud music being played. But I would definitely hear if somebody opened up a door and screamed out, shut the F up, holy shit, what was that? You know what I mean? And, but the 3 times coming out of the room, but she never encounters Brian. And in such a small window, the chance of that, the probability of that happening is actually increased. It increases your odds because it's such a smaller window. If that happened over a course of an hour, yeah, is a lot more time for you to miss somebody. But when you're scrunching it down into the time frame, and at the time that she would have been actually getting up out of her bedroom when she would have heard things, then I think that that's even more of a probability of running into her. But then you don't, but she sees you, but you don't see her. Or if you did, you let her live, which that doesn't make sense to me either. I don't think that you would. I don't think he would have been tired. He needs to prevent 911 from being called, right? The most accessible door in the house, he just totally bypasses, doesn't even attempt to go in there. Or did he, and nobody was in there? Mm-hmm. I think there's so many perfect storms in this case. Kaylee hadn't been staying there, and then Kaylee stays there that weekend. Kaylee had a new car. That means that would have been anybody that's stalking the place. That's another question mark of like whose vehicle is that. I would agree with that, Becky. When you're talking about Brent, there's many ways. Are you talking about you didn't have to shoot him? Yeah. So sad. But you guys are great as always. Hope you guys had a great long weekend. Be kind to one another. Do me a favor at the end of this, thumbs it up, thumbs it down, based on your cup of tea. You have an opinion, use it. I do want to answer this one right here. Whatever happened to the fancy black SUV Hirsch identified? You guys, law enforcement never even talked to him. Law enforcement never talked to anybody that Dave says that he knows. And I don't think Kim has come forward and saying that she knows. I mean, she says herself that she's talked to, law enforcement, but so who's been interviewed? There's over 500 interviews. I'm confused on what your stance is on all of this. That's the thing. People think that you have to have theories. You don't have to have theories. I don't ever give a theory like that. That's not how I roll. So my stance is that we were all waiting for the preliminary hearing, because that's what everyone's kept saying is, oh my God, that's just the PCA. They have so much more, just wait. Okay. Deal. Let's wait for the preliminary hearing. Let's see what happens. Boom! No preliminary hearing. We have to go secret grand jury. Okay. So my stance is that you told all of Moscow, if you're the police department, that everybody was safe. Olivia's telling everybody that they need to get the hell out of there. She was right. Because if you're arresting someone like Brian Kohlberger, nobody would be safe then. You have no idea what he's going to do this again. So why are you telling people that they're safe? I get it that you can't have, I guess, pandemonium over in your little area, in your community. But at the same time, to think that Brian Kohlberger wouldn't strike again or wouldn't kill, I just don't see that. if he's everything that you guys are all saying that he is, he would kill. So this is all just about an investigation. Logic, critical thinking, cause and effect. If you called me and told me that all your roommates were, stabbed to death, I'm sorry, but I wouldn't say, did you call 911? I would already think that you did. Also, just depending on the situation, if I came out of my room and I saw that, like, I'd be freaking out and I would be getting the hell up out of that house. I would not be inviting people over to where this just happened. And how do I know that the killer's not inside? How do I know that the killer left? I would be getting the hell up out of that house if I came across a scene like that. Even just like the downstairs, I may not even go upstairs. I know that sounds crazy, but I think that that's what I don't see a lot of females seeing the downstairs scene and then running upstairs to go check on the other roommates. I don't see that. I see people being freaked out and running outside, running away from it. But then you're going to call people and bring people to the crime scene. I mean, I'd be running out the door and I would be at my neighbor's banging on the door. I wouldn't want to be alone, so I'd be getting in my car, and getting the hell. I don't know. I definitely would be calling the police. That'd be happening while I'd be running, I don't. It's kind of like the Sheldon Jeter Jr. case for me. Why would you ever see a person in the middle of the road, laying in the middle of the road, and think that they were shot versus think that they were, hit by a car? Why would you ever think that the person in the middle of the road was shot and that you didn't stop to call 911 because you thought that the shooter was still in the area? What? Why would you think that? Did you get out of the car? Did you look at the body? Did you see the gunshots? No. So why did you think that he was shot? Oh, because it was just a bad area, so I figured he was shot. Versus in the middle of the road, you don't think that they were hit by a car? No, you're fucking lying. So then when they pull away, this person doesn't call 911. They go all the way up the hill, go to their friend's house and say, oh my God, there's a dead body in the middle of the road. We have to go. We have to call 911. We have to go back down there. Wait, you just said that you left the area because you thought that the shooter could still be in the area. Now you go back to grab your friends to bring them back to the area that you just left because you said that there was the possible shooter was still there? And nobody still has called 911. Are y'all crazy? You think I believe that? Hell no, I don't believe that. And they all lied. And so this situation, I believe if you got a 20-year-old girl who gets out of bed and goes to brush her teeth in the morning or go pee in the morning to go to the bathroom, and when you would come to that and you would see, you would either A, not see it because it was in the room and the doors were closed. So you went to the bathroom and then like maybe there wasn't, But if you see that, you're going to freak out, scream, and then you're going to, in my opinion, be on the phone. You would think calling 911 as you are running outside to bang on the neighbors because they're right there pounding on the door. And all of this is going to come out. Like, what did you do? Where'd you go? Okay, you're going to have to talk about all of what you did that night and that day. And anybody that was writing in chat, like both Bethany and Dylan are going to be testifying at trial. There's no getting around that. Anybody that thinks that they're not testifying, that's just not happening. That's just not. They're definitely testifying. Or at least call and check on Bethany. But see, like, why would you call and just check on Bethany? Like, you would call all of them. But I would think that there would be part of you that would think, or the killer was still there, or the killer would have, like, I don't know. You'd have to explain that. And I think that would be a really good question to be asking is well, did you think the killer was still in the house? No, because I saw the killer the night before and I just didn't call 911. I immediately realized right when I saw them that, oh my God, that person had killed them. And I knew something was off. So then you still didn't call 911? No. Like, none of that is going to fly. And if it, like, when you're hearing these questions, if you're on the jury, like, these people, anybody who's questioned in this manner, I'm sorry, but if I'm on the jury, you're going to have to bring it for those type of questions. Because I want to know why should I believe you with anything that you have to say? If that's the type of decision making that you are making, But anybody else that was summoned over to that house, and however long it took for other people to decide to call 911 once they were there, like, I'm going to ask you the same questions. So when I got there, I thought that 911 had already been called. And then I asked them, I was like, why aren't the cops here yet? Where's the ambulance? Like, what the hell's going on? Did you guys call yet? No. You guys haven't called 911 yet? Then you would grab your phone and then you would immediately start calling 911. But remember, this started with the roommates. Remember, the call originated from the roommate's cell phone? And now it makes sense. Because somebody was like, oh God, wait, no, we have to use your phone because you're the roommate. Like, you saw the bodies. Because when you woke up, so it's going to come from your cell phone. And then it originated in the house. I mean, and why is all of that just so weird? Why wouldn't it just be, especially if you're never going to release it until trial? They will have to testify, but I will guess it'll be a couple of years. The gag order, not you guys. There's just the right to a speedy trial. If I'm Ann, if I'm Brian, I want my day in court immediately, and that's what they're shooting for. Like, you have like that 6-month period. So I think Ann cleared her whole schedule, so she should be fine. Right to a speedy trial. We don't even know if that's true, if the front door was open or not. There's just no evidence of that until we hear from like someone like a Dylan or a Bethany or somebody that was like that showed up there. Yeah, they all know each other. They all know each other. You guys, that's what they do. When they see the cops for like noise complaints, when they see the cops for anything, they're playing telephone with all those houses and they're letting each other know that the cops are here. You know, they're texting each other. That's college. That's what we did on our street. You know, like you're giving people a heads up. That's just what it is. If they call 911 about a roommate being unresponsive, why would police show up? Roommates are lying, period. By the way, I sent another super chat. Oh, I got this one. If you sent another one before that, I'm sorry. I didn't see it. But thank you there, Joe. You know, I hate to use the word that anybody is just lying. I like to think that you guys, there's always an answer. And it just, then it leads you like down a different way, you know, just. But none of it would happen with this whole situation. Because let's say, hypothetically speaking, there was no sheath left, right? That's what I thought got him arrested. Dawn Daniels, we don't want to use the sheath. Don't use the sheath. We want to get the search warrant without the sheath. Why? Why? Why are you even saying this? Well, because we have to protect the, you know, fruit of the poisonous tree. We cannot, if this, then that means everything in the whole house will get thrown out. Or in his apartment. Okay, well, you got it with everything. You could have gotten that search warrant December 23rd, if not sooner, because of everything that you used. Well, December 23rd, because the historical data, which I think is a fucking crock of shit to get it. I don't know how you got that. So why not serve the search warrant, get into his apartment, and get into, you know, because you didn't use the DNA. You didn't use the sheath. Neither did Pennsylvania when they searched his person and the parents' house. So why not do all that, get all the testing back, and then do a grand jury right off the rip? Why? Why wouldn't you do that? Why did they tell us that this takes time? This is a process. This takes time. This takes time. Because I agree. It does take time. That is some seriously amazing police work. The FBI and the police should be seriously commended for the amount of time that it truly did not take to do this, to arrest somebody like Brian that had no ties to them. They should be commended 100%. Because I kept saying, how do you get to Brian Kohlberger? How in the world are you getting to Brian Kohlberger? How? And you did it very, very quickly. But they kept telling us this takes time. This takes time. This takes time. It's not like, you know, the TVs. And they're right. 100%. That's the truth. So why do I feel like this was a rush job from the moment of December 23rd until December 29th? This was a rush. They went in rush mode. Why aren't you just like working like all this out? Like, why did it have to be such like rush at that point of what I believe was December 23rd? Right there, bingo. And that's why you didn't go grand jury. The pressure to have an arrest before school would start. Because why wouldn't you just, I mean, and then you know what else is crazy is, well, who was saying it? I don't think they were following Brian. I don't think they were following Brian. Well, then how did they know where Brian was? That he, when Blaker did his affidavit with his statements, and he said that, well, we believe that Brian's at home in Pennsylvania with his family. How in the fucking world would you know that if you weren't following Brian? Brian could have had a horrible relationship with his family. And so he could have been, I don't know, with his aunt and uncle at, in North Carolina or in Florida. Or, I mean, how do you know that he was in Pennsylvania? And these are just all things that I can't wait to hear when all the police officers and the FBI, when they one day talk about all of this. Because truly they'll probably never give away all their trade secrets or whatever, but I'm truly fascinated with how it all works. Think about back in the day, how many people were getting wrongfully, accused and then convicted, and then DNA comes along. Then the Innocence Project comes along, and boom, all these people that were wrongfully accused and convicted. A lot to do with social injustice, in my opinion. People were just blaming the black man. And I think that's the shittiest thing in the world. But for whatever reason, stuff like that was happening. But then DNA comes along, and you have a bunch of exonerations happening. You have people that were innocent that died in prison. But you're freeing people. So, but the digital world is just so evolved that how does anybody, if you're able to get someone like Brian Kohlberger, in my opinion, how does any crime go unsolved? Especially for his amount of fuck-ups that happen in this. 911 isn't called for how long? The crime scene just completely trampled on with people being in there and them not knowing who was in there. But how did they even get Brian? Just amazing. But at the end of the day, I like to hear about that process. CK is from who's CK? V Slim, is you're welcome. Someone said up there a hung jury. You want to bring the death penalty? That's killing somebody. Could there be a recording that is not known about? Well, I think that's what Anne was trying to get her hands on, was Payne at some point interviewed and interrogated, rather, Brian Kohlberger. And I'm curious if that happened before, they're looking for this white Elantra, right? Was it because of that? Did they ever talk to him early on? And then did they just circle back to him? He's the profile. So when the FBI did a profile, he would, unless the crime scene's just Thank you. No info on the guys with the red car seen bleaching it for hours. I talked about that. I don't know if that's the Mustang. And there was online reports of it. I just said they rushed it from the December 23rd until December 29th. And people get served. I mean, do you think that anybody at the Sigma Chi house, do you think that any of them, do you think they cooperated to the point of that they never had to ask anybody, hey, can we get this from you? Nope. Get a search warrant, you know? So they didn't arrest anybody, and they were issuing search warrants. So why not just issue the search warrants on Brian's apartment and Brian's person and his parents' house and his car in PA and see what comes back? And then once you get what comes back, then you would just go forward with, you know, okay, we're going to go ahead and arrest him because of the forensics that came back. And what I mean by that is that they didn't use the DNA from the sheath to be able to get the search warrant for his car, for his person, or for his apartment, and for his parents' house. So you had all of that on December 23rd. So why not just serve those search warrants? Get the returns back, process them, and get the physical evidence. And let's say even say that you don't get the physical evidence. You can still arrest him. So why not? Is he a flight risk? Well, you've been following him. Wouldn't you just keep following him? Wouldn't you just want to make sure this is the guy? I guess my thing is, what's the difference if we arrest him on the 29th or we arrest him on, because we're all going to be like, oh man, to get this all back, it's going to be, you know, by the time it takes to do all this, it's going to be past, you know, when school starts. And fuck it, we need to arrest him. And you did it because of school. You didn't do it for the safety of people, though, truly. You did it just to give them that sense of security. Because if that was the case, then you wouldn't have told them that they were all basically safe and not to worry. No, there wasn't a fucking serial killer running around. I don't know. I'd have some serious issues if I lived at Step-2 apartment and found out that they didn't deem Brian Culver a threat to me, especially all the women. I'd be like, what? This psycho weirdo. You know, Scott Roeder also had a really good point of like, your adrenaline's kicking. There's going to be possibly sweat. So did Brian Colburn didn't sweat anywhere? Didn't drop on anything? Nothing, like no sweat. What if there is no DNA in that house that comes back to Brian except for the sheath touch DNA? But yet there's all this other male, DNA all over the place. They would have had. Do you think that they're going to have to answer to like? Did you exclude all these people? Who did they? Because that's what they asked for. Who does it belong to? Who? All the DNA samples in that house. What are the male DNA that it comes back to? How many unknown? They asked for all that. Was Moscow just going around asking people to give their DNA? Would you give your DNA up without a would you just be like, yeah, that's fine, here you can have it? How would that work for you? What would you say if you were 20? Would you call your parents and would you ask your parents? Because I don't think I'd get my DNA like that. Like I'm talking about like the boys. Like if you're a guy, and they went to the Sigma Chi house and they went to all these fraternities and then all the people that were like the boyfriends or the good friends. Would you give it? Would you give it up? Would you call your parents? What would your parents tell you to do? Would you call a lawyer? Jesse says I would give it ASAP. And remember the guy that came on, the media was talking about him. They're like, this guy just wants to go give his DNA just so that people leave him alone. What? I was reading about the 2023 murders of news reporter and two others, and the police said that the state attorney should have been some tasks. I'm just curious what people would do. You're 20 years old, and do you think they were asking people for that? How quickly do you think that they were able to process that sheath to know that there was this, touch DNA, and then it was an unknown male and, belonged to a male. And so then therefore, let's just start testing all these frat kids. Ruby Red. This is why. The Idaho State Lab later located a single source of male DNA suspect profile left on the button snap of the sheath. Button snap. You know what a profiler told me is that, you know, what's crazy about that is that if there's only like one sample on there and of the DNA, and then it's nowhere else, that if somebody was to wipe down a knife and you're using gloves, and that you had gloves on to go to commit this crime when you went to grab the knife out of the sheath, your gloves would have been on. So when did this transfer of DNA happen? If you have your gloves on, you're driving your vehicle, you have your sheath on, your, I don't know, belt. When do you go to grab your knife? Do you grab your knife right after you get out of the car and you're walking like this? Do you take your, I mean, when would this have happened? So that's the issue that you come across with somebody that wore gloves to commit this crime. And if they had gloves on, then when did this whole DNA thing happen? Transfer happened, let's see. But it's in the location of where it's fit, like at the snap of it. Would the odds of that being, the probability of that being from, you know, snapping at all, like snapping that snap, that's what the probability would lead to. So if you have gloves on, you know, remember like the JonBenet Ramsey case? Remember how she got the underwear and she got them as a gift, and somebody that could have like packaged the underwear because she didn't wash the underwear before she put the underwear on, that was the gift. And the underwear had an unknown male. And it could have actually been from somebody who packaged the underwear. You wipe off this whole, you just buy a brand new, what would Dateline say? You go and buy a knife from Amazon and the sheath from Amazon, total trail, paper trail of that. Then just recently, and then you decide to commit a murder, 4 of them, with this knife that is totally traceable via PayPal or however the hell you paid. Then you leave the sheath there with DNA on it. Then you drive all around to be on every camera possible. But you shut your phone off, but not until after you leave your house. So it hits a couple towers. Yes, I get shipments in from India. Yeah, any like taunting cops by leaving sheath. Well, this is what I think. I think that what would taunt it or what would make it really messed up is that if the sheath didn't fit the knife, that's what would taunt. That's what would be off. Is that if the knife was too big for that sheath. So if you can prove that based off of the size of the wounds, I don't know. That to me would be playing around. Is that the sheath is not the same. The sheath's too small to fit the knife that was used. Now, wouldn't that just be a mind fuck? That's the type of, when you want to talk about to taunting the cops, I think that's how that. I mean, we're talking about somebody that thought about all of this. What if the sheath isn't big enough? And then I just can't get over the fact of this knife that you didn't have in your hand when you walked in, or did you? But then if that's the case, then the sheath wouldn't have been on the bed because it would have already been out of the sheath. So when you walk in there to the house, it wouldn't have had that opportunity to fall like it did. But when you would be leaving the house, you'd be walking out knowing that you have this sheath, or you have your knife, and you would know, you would go to like be putting it away, and you're, oh shit, where's my sheath? I think that you would know it really, really quickly that you didn't have it. Wouldn't you? I mean, we're talking about, I almost feel like you're talking about your keys. You would know that you didn't have your keys when you couldn't start the car. Well, you know that you don't have your sheath when you can't put your knife away. And I think somebody, when I said that, they said, well, no, you wouldn't think about it if you just threw your knife in a bag. And I'm like, bag? Well, where's he pulling a bag out? Like, what the fuck? Well, from his pocket, he has those little plastic things. He was putting his trash can, his trash in. So he put the knife right into a bag. Well, that's just got to be the fucking stupidest thing I think I've ever heard, but that's fine. Yeah, you would know so soon that you didn't have your sheath anymore. Like, you're not putting a knife in your pocket. And then the $1 million question is going to be, Dylan, did you see when you saw him, did you see that he had a knife? And when she says, no, it didn't, well, then where the fuck was his knife? If the sheath is upstairs in the bedroom. And maybe he's over here like, no, the sheath was on my hip. I don't know who the fuck sheath that is because my knife was in my sheath. So, Dylan, did you see him carrying a bag? No, I didn't. Because then the question's going to be like, wait, you saw him with a knife and you still didn't call 911? So I don't think she's going to say that she saw him with a knife. So then where's this knife? Well, it's in his pocket. Well, wow. I mean, that just doesn't seem believable to me. Who the fuck would put a knife in their pocket? So I can just cut myself. It just doesn't make any sense. And then everyone says, Lana, you have logic. The person that did this doesn't have logic. But you're saying they planned this all out. Well, when they got under pressure, then they just totally blanked out. I don't know. But then you're saying that he's done this so many times before. You can't have it both in every other way. You just can't. And everything that he says he specializes in, his demeanor, he got pulled over. And you saw him on multiple body cams getting pulled over. I didn't think he was like tweaking out, freaking out, or anything like that. I thought he was just a fucking nerd. I don't know. I don't know. Like when you watch Bundy, and I never did it until just a couple days ago. I think he's a complete fucking, oh my God, like he just screams weirdo. Like laughing, smiling, like what the hell is going on? Like this is like something's off. Yeah. To me, Brian doesn't act like anything like Bundy to me. I don't know. Yeah, does he have no friends? Does Brian have no friends? Well, no one's coming forward to claiming as a friend. And then somebody who has a great point. Well, would you come forward so that you could just be slaughtered by the media? Oh, hey, I have sex with Brian. Yeah, like no, who's gonna do that? I would never do that. Bundy was an attorney. Fuck, Bundy was an attorney. He didn't. He represented himself. He wasn't an attorney. He didn't pass his classes. Bundy's a pussy. Acting like he has a broken arm to lure women. Trash bag. The redhead was close, Lana. Yes, and I think they're from the coffee house. You guys need to understand this connection. So the Asian sorority sisters live in the coffee house apartments, at least a couple of them. The coffee house apartments is where Brent Kapaka lived, and Brian Colbert allegedly had some Asian friends, and there's an Asian sorority at WSU. And I said, well, hot damn, what are the odds? So maybe they, and she's a really short, cute little girl. I was really looking forward to asking her all these questions. I just think that you would know immediately that you didn't have your sheath. I don't. Especially, let me ask you this. If Dateline's accurate in them going with the FBI people that they went with, and they said that only one of the two girls upstairs was the target, and that it was an accident, that wrong place, wrong time. I shouldn't even use the word accident. It was, they ran in, like either Ethan ran into the killer or Xana ran into the killer as he was coming down from upstairs. So does that mean that after he killed upstairs, that he would be putting his knife back in his sheath upstairs so that he could like walk out of the house? I mean, would you keep the knife in your hand if you're planning on just like, would you come down the stairs with the knife in your hand? Would you put the knife away? Would you risk going back down the stairs of the house through the house when you could just walk out the balcony of the other room? It's not, I mean, it's, you guys know that it's not that, like, to jump down, right? Especially if you go all the way to the left-hand side, it's not far at all. Like, why wouldn't you just drop down and go out the balcony out the back way? You're talking about somebody that cased this place. You wouldn't need snow, guys. It's, have you not seen all the body cams off that balcony? It's like it's not even a jump. It's, especially if you get all the way to the left-hand side of it, it's just right there. And is that back by where his car would have been? Like, why would you want to go back down into the heart of the house where there's, you know, all these people? You can jump down. Yeah, you can jump down on the couch. But if you go, I mean, I could pull it up, but if you just go to the end of the balcony all the way down to the left-hand side, you're right by that road, the street that goes back behind the house. Why wouldn't you do that? I mean, wouldn't you? That's where I would go. Why would I walk down through the house if that was my target upstairs? It truly makes no fucking sense. You know, if nobody else was your target. I get that you had no way to get up there, so you had to go through the house because you had no way to get up on the balcony. We still have 1.4K in chat. I know I'm just talking. That's the only reason I'm talking. I'm guessing everybody just went to bed, and so their YouTube's just running still. But I'm trying to explain to Dateline and the FBI that said that it was, the target was upstairs. It was either Maddie or Kaylee. And it does make sense that, okay, he wasn't expecting them to be sleeping on the same bed. Okay. But also, is there a possibility that, you know, Kaylee heard, or vice versa? I would think that it would be, but Kaylee's wounds were different, remember? That would make sense to me if somebody had come into a room and was standing up and got attacked versus, you know, Maddie being in a bed sleeping and Kaylee heard it. And so she left her room to come in there. But if your target was upstairs, then, and you knew the layout of the house, why wouldn't you just go out the balcony and go that way? Especially if you're trying to avoid cameras and ring cameras and shit like that. But I still think at the end of the day, would you have your knife in your hand after you did what you did upstairs to go downstairs? Would you have, you know, or would you have put your knife away? Are you trying to go so slow to get out of the house to not make any noise so that you're not waking people up? So are you going really slow, you know, walking very slow down the steps? Are you flying down them like, I mean, did you go into the house really slow, like slow and quiet? Who is my butt? You guys have to know who my butt is. But is the coroner. She's the jack of all trades. Come on now. I think she's a lawyer too, right? Thank you. Their Green Electric. What's that? Mama Blog it is. MB. Yeah, I'm you guys, I'm just simply trying to show how I don't believe for a second that to say that the targets were upstairs, that you wouldn't leave out the balcony then. Why the fuck would I go downstairs if I don't have to go downstairs? Just like Steve said, you didn't have to go upstairs. Well, it's the same thing that I could say the backwards way. Why would I go downstairs if I don't have to go downstairs? I would only continue to go downstairs if I was planning on killing more people. If you're saying that I would know my escape route, wouldn't you? I mean, I don't know. This is a premeditated murder, right? It's a targeted attack. He was stalking them. He stalked that house. 12 pings. So if my target was upstairs, why wouldn't I just kill and jumped off the balcony? And it would have been like literally not a it's like you're jumping off of a swing when you're a little kid. We're not talking about some, oh my God, why would he ever do something like that? Because why wouldn't you? There's no cameras, there's no nothing. It's the woods right there. So it just, to me, that does not make sense that your targets were upstairs and that, okay, so then he comes downstairs and he happens to run into one of them. Okay, so he just had his knife out and he just ran into them, or did he not have his knife out? And then if he would have run into one of them, then why wouldn't the attack have begun? There's only one place that you could run into him, and that would be like in the kitchen, because he was coming down the stairs. And if you know the layout of the house, he has no reason to go ever past Xana's room. Like that, you have to walk out of your way to go that way. It's impossible that, they would have to have literally collided into each other coming down the stairs. And when he went to go turn to the left to go out. And again, if that's the case, and what Xana was able to get away and ran to her bedroom, and so he followed because she saw him. But that's their theory. That's Dateline. That's Dateline's theory with the people that they had on, with the FBI people. But the targets were upstairs, and then when he came downstairs, he encountered, and that he then killed Ethan and Xana because of that encounter, because of Xana or Ethan, whoever got the DoorDash, whoever was outside of the room. Which again, I just keep saying, like, wow, talk about these probabilities. So he, in this such a small window of time, runs into Xana or Ethan, but 3 times homegirl comes out of her room and nothing. And he never hears that, sees that. She's, Dylan screaming, saying shut up or whatever. And he's like, well, I'm not going to kill her because I don't know. And I don't know who opens up a door and peeks out a door if there's nothing to be scared of. You just open up a door because you're pissed. And you open up your door and you're like, what the hell? Shut up. I don't open up a door and crack it and go like, that's not normal. That's not a normal. You have nothing to be scared of. You're scared after you see something. That's where your fright is. Like, unless if I'm in my house right now and I started hearing stuff upstairs, I'd be like, yeah, what is that noise? Like, I'm hearing that. Like, what is that? But like, let's say that there's 4 people that are sleeping upstairs, or like their rooms are up there and I'm hearing noises, like then it's not that out of character for me. What is that? It's just whatever my roommates would be doing. You know what I mean? Especially if people just were going to bed. Like everybody was home by 2 and in their rooms by 4. Okay. So then if I heard something like, if there's a party going on and this was a loud party, why is everybody going to their rooms? That makes no fucking sense. Like, none of this makes any sense. So I don't understand how this is possibly going to, if I was on the jury, I would need all of these things answered as to this situation that Brian Kohlberger somehow knew exactly when everybody was going to be in their rooms to not have everybody all out on, Front Street and living room, because how would I take on 1v5, 1v4, 1v6? So he knew exactly when everybody would be in their rooms. He knew exactly where everybody was. And that nobody was going to call 911. The people that I don't kill, no one's going to call 911 for hours. Wow. Home by 2, in their rooms by 4. Not necessarily sleeping, but everybody's in their rooms by 4. And that's the time, boom, he's in there at 4:06, 4:08. And then out by 4:17. Interesting. I just think there's so many perfect storms. Like killer took a big chance. Killer took It's almost like when you look at it, Brian should have gotten away with it. And that's my thing, is how did Brian get caught? Because it was almost just like everything was going his way to not get caught. Like, what are the odds that nobody calls 911? What are the odds that somebody hears somebody crying and screaming, and that they just think that that's normal? What are the odds that they see crying and screaming and then they see the guy and don't call 911? What are the odds of all of that? And then somehow the cops are able to get him after all of this. After all these blunders, the cops can then still come through and get him. It's interesting. Fought for their lives, yeah. Fought for their lives. There was a battle on floor 2. And so think about this. If everybody was home by 2 and everybody was in their rooms by 4, that tells me that everybody was going to sleep. Like, that tells me that there was no party going on. There would be no loud music. There would be no So therefore when you would hear something, it's not going to be distorted. It's not like you could mistake it for something else. No, we weren't, there was nobody over. So where this whole thing comes into play, and I would love to know if it's going to be Bethany that said it or if it's going to be Dylan that said it, but I believe it's going to be Dylan. And then that is a head scratcher, which is, how do you know that, who told you that everybody was home by 2 and in their rooms by 4? Who said that? The only person that could say that would be the last person that would be in the living room that actually went to then their bedroom. And that to me would be Xana or Ethan, whoever left to go get the DoorDash. If, and in fact, it was at 4. Why did they do the DoorDash search warrant? They didn't ask for a history of Xana's DoorDash. That's not what they did. They did a DoorDash, they did a warrant for the address. They wanted all the information of who's ever delivered and anything that's ever been delivered through DoorDash from January of 2022 to present day. And they wanted the address. They did not do the individual of, we want Xana's DoorDash records. We want Kaylee's, we want Maddie's. No, they wanted the address 1122 King. And that tells me everything I need to know. That tells me that Xana didn't order it. Then they wanted to find out who ordered it. And you do that by going for the records of the house to see who ordered a DoorDash to that house. Because the way that DoorDash works is I can order for anybody that I want. I can order for myself at my house, or I can order for you right now at your house. I just need to know your address. And then boom, a DoorDash would show up in like 20 or 30 minutes and you'd be like, I didn't order this. So yeah, boop, boop, boop. That's how that would work. And it says it kind of that way in the PCA. It says, I believe it says it like, Xana received a DoorDash. Doesn't say Xana ordered a DoorDash. She received one. But yeah, they went after the address. So they wanted to know who ordered that DoorDash. So was the DoorDash part of a way to get into the house? I don't know. You know what happens though when stuff like that, when you DoorDash, the DoorDash just puts it by the door and they take a picture and they send it to you. And it's like a text message so that you know that that's how like this contact delivery. So again, just all these weird things going on. And the girls were allegedly being followed home and made it seem like, Jack was some stalker. But here the girls were really being stalked, but it wasn't by him. I mean, just talk about just a freaky situation. Just all of this freak shit. Because really they were being stalked, but it was by Brian allegedly. But, that video made it seem like it was Jack Showalter that was stalking them. Until you see the rest of the video to see them walking down together from Corner Club. And it's like, why didn't anybody just put that out there? That nobody would have ever thought twice about that kid then. Just crazy shit. It would have smelled so bad in there. Who knows? That's what everybody keeps saying. I've never experienced it. I'd answer the door with my shotgun. Jeez. You go get him, Trinity. How long has this live been on? Oh, well, we're ending it. It's 3:46. I don't know. 1,500 people. You guys don't want to go to bed. So I'm just telling you guys a bedtime story. At the end of the day, the victims deserve all the justice in the world. Their families all these lives, the community, everybody's lives is just completely, for the rest of their lives, this is everything that they're always going to think about. Even their friends, you know. It's just sad. But that's also why you have to make sure that you get the right person, because you're going to think about it for the rest of your life. We would stay up all night for Atlanta. Well, I would. Oh, thanks, Heather. You're such a sweetie. Coast to coast with Atlanta. Yeah, I bet you all the people on the West Coast were liking this. This is all up your guys' alley with the time. It's only like 10:26 for you guys. You guys are like, yeah. It's 6:30 a.m. here, girl. Oh, wow. What part? Where would that be? Is that the UK? I don't mean to dox you. You don't have to answer that. Skincare Carrie, where it was determined that Jack Showalter was kicked out of the Corner Club that night. I have not seen anything that's ever said that, so I don't know where that's coming from. I could totally see what you're saying there, 100%. I think for me, it's the more Ethan and Xana. There's two in that room, okay, and you have both of them have cell phones. So how does Brian handle both of them without one of them being able to get to their phone and call 911, or be at least screaming out to say, "Hey, Dylan, call," like something like that. Unless one of them was completely passed out due to, drinking or sleeping or, whatever. So the two people that stayed in a room by themselves, nothing happened to them, but the two people that actually had two people in their rooms, they were the ones that were attacked. Oh, new name? I didn't realize that. Well, now that I know that, I must have missed that. Sorry, love. Oh, it is time for me to go to bed. I'm yawning. I'm tired. I'm right there with you, Becky. I don't know how I would. There's just nothing that would take that long for me to call 911. If people knew about this stuff at 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, that's just, there's nothing that. No. And I think that it would take a long time for the police to, get to the bottom of that, to make sure that there would be nothing like that wasn't done, unless they came right clean with it right away and said, okay, this is why we didn't call. Okay. There was a bunch of drugs in here. And so we got rid of them all. Like, you'd have to come right out with the gate flying with that. And I just don't think that, dude, these are people that when there was a noise, they don't run towards the police. They run away from the police. I've shown how many videos of that happening. That's all they did was run from the police. They don't answer the door when, for the noise complaint. These people aren't like, yeah, let me talk to the cops. Like, that's not what's going to happen. So, all the new stuff is in the beginning. Hop back and have at it there, Stephanie says. So. They were cleaning all the bloody thumbprints. Well, it wouldn't be the first time that they were lying, guys. We saw them lie on the body cams. So I don't know. It's just sad. All right, you guys take care. That is a wrap. We'll see when the ambulance shows up. All this will be like all these reports. Till next time, guys, be safe.